Oh yeah, I'm with this, Wizzy. I'm just gonna lay back and I'ma drop some smooth lyrics. So tune in 7 to 9:30 and don't be late. We about to set it straight. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. Word. I'm ready, let's go. Ain't no half stepping, that's the name of the show. Yeah, Marcus J hosting and we ready to go. Yeah, Hunter's talk sprinkled with a dash of humor to the legacy listeners and the online viewers. What you wanna talk about, call it, we're hearing you. Cover all topics, touch on the main issues. With the flow in this show, bring the heat. The word on the street, Wizard Earl on the beat. We superb in the D, legacy online. 7 to 9:30, please be on time. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J, my brother. If they can't hang, word to their mother. And he been on this grind for a while. The brother so smart, plus brother got style. Up in Richmond, we on the mission, before force. And listen up, this Marcus Stage start to talk, run it back. And he been on this grind for a while. The brother so smart, plus brother got style. Up in Richmond, we on the mission, before force. And listen up, this Marcus Stage start to talk. Steppin', that's the name of the show. Yeah, Marcus J hosting and we ready to go. Yeah, Hunter's talk sprinkled with a dash of humor to the legacy listeners and the online viewers. What you wanna talk about, call it, we're hearing you. Cover all topics, touch on the main issues. With the flow in this show, bring the heat. The word on the street, Wizard Earl on the beat. We superb in the D, legacy online. 7 to 9:30, please be on time. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J, my brother. If they can't hang, word to their mother. And he been on this grind for a while. The brother so smart, plus brother got style. Up in Richmond, we on the mission, before force. And listen up, this Marcus Stage start to talk.
All right, y'all. Ain't no half stepping. Marcus J is live. We in the building, ready for an outstanding show as we do it this time every single Monday night. Well, I shouldn't say every single, most of the time. Got a big show, got a lot to get to. Normally we tease it. Today we're not going to tease it. We're going to get right to the show. We're going to play the music and the intro and all that kind of stuff. And on the other side, we're going to bring you the flagship show of Legacy Internet Radio, the show that we call Ain't No Half Steppin' with Marcus J. And we're live right now.
Yeah.
It's about that time. It's about that time to get yeah.
Button your lip, open your ears, strap on your thinking cap. Socially conscious talk that's entertaining with a dash of humor and the top sports stories of the week. It's time for Ain't No Half Steppin' with Marcus J.
Sellers has Jordan. Jordan with 2 seconds to go. Puts it up and scores at the buzzer. Michael Jordan has won it for Chicago. Manning lobs it. Burris alone. Touchdown, New York.
Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. He hits one deep to right center. That ball is out of here. The Yankees win the pennant.
Ain't No Half Stepping with Marcus J is live. We in the building. Be down with us tonight. Appreciate y'all. Social media already checking in. Thank you. Thank you to the folks that are checking in right now on Facebook Live and YouTube Live. Thank you to the folks that are checking us out right now on our replays, in our archives. You might be listening in the future. You might be listening tonight, tomorrow, weeks ahead, what have you. We are thankful for you. We appreciate the fact that you have taken the time to rock with us. We will roll with y'all. Checking in first and having the number called first for checking in. He is our brother. He is Legacy Internet Radio alumni. Late of the Aaron Turner show right here on Legacy Internet Radio. The man himself, the OG Aaron Turner, is checking us out. Peace to you, brother. Thank you for rocking with us. Your family appreciates you. Peace to July Wellness has been checking us out quite a bit lately, and we appreciate you as well. July says, hello, guys. Appreciate you. Thank you for rocking with us. Let's see. We got some more salutations. There's something else just popped in there. Let's see. And then we have Michelle is checking us out right now. I got an opportunity to hang out with Michelle. Yeah. Hey, Michelle. Hey. Yeah, I am. I'm on one tonight. What can I say? So let's get these salutations around the room to see if y'all on one too. Of course, he sits across from me. He's my brother. He's my friend. He's the big homie we call John Green. I affectionately refer to him as Johnny in my Chris Rock voice. What's up, bro?
Marcus Magnificent, keeping us the realest. Emperor of the Den. How are you, brother?
Oh, well, man. Every time, man. I get the giggles like for real. What's happening, bro? It's good to see you, man.
It is good to be seen.
Yeah.
What's going on, man?
I can't complain, man. You know, it's been a good day. It's been a good weekend. It's been restful. I had an opportunity to, do all of the things that I wanted to do over the last few days. So I'm as they say, I'm blessed. Also checking in to the show. She sits on my right side because she's my right hand, our co-host, our sister. Yay. What's up, Steph? So we go from corny to baritone.
So funny.
Yeah, we are. What's up, Steph?
Life is life and always forward. Always forward,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I can't complain.
Well, I want to lead off.
Perfection, I got to work on it.
I want to lead off with Friday. I got a chance to hang out with you and Michelle. We did some brainstorming, and why don't you, share as much as you'd like to about what we were brainstorming about so that our folks can be prepared to be your folks.
Well, thank you.
I'm jealous.
We're now at the hard launch phase of the radio station. So, it's funny. You can start a radio show on any platform. And that's easy. You could do that tonight. You could go home tonight and decide, I don't care about pre-production, quality, branding. I'm going to go live on air. You could definitely do that. But, we wanted to build a space for creators who are not just intellectually intelligent, but intelligent in whatever they do. If they're a comedian, they deliver, they know how to deliver. If they give social commentary or politics, it connects with an audience. And so, we've been making sure to remember that we're launching a full-on radio station, not a radio show. And within that, we both have our own shows on the station. So we're two of the creators. And so this is the prep for the hard launch, which is in September. And we are going to be, connecting with our creators. And we brought Marcus in as someone with a significant amount of internet radio experience. And, I'm a person who believes you ask and you learn. You ask of and learn from the right people, and a lot of times when people are doing something like this, they want to seem like they know everything. And although I've done radio individually, it's always been on someone else's station. So it was important to have, you there. And of course, Michelle and I, we want to be on the same page about what the brand does and how RVA The Talk not only touches the community, but enhances the creative experience of the actual radio host that we're going to have coming on board. So we're excited. I mean, we got a lot going on. We're both working on our own shows and the content there, and we're both gonna, I'm gonna be live when I'm on, and Michelle has both live and pre-recorded content. So she's got great co-hosts for her show called The Stoop, which is the legends of the legend of food culture.
Yeah.
And it's her and a chef who I believe is Greek. They're on there together. He's Michelin rated chef. Michelle's a chef, food entrepreneur. So they're going to be doing their thing, talking about everything from, and they have niece of James Baldwin, Aisha. She will be joining them. And so it's just a great RVA The Talk in general. We want this to be something that from RVA to NYC, if you're a creator, you got something to say. I don't care if you think you're going to be the next Joe Madison or if you want to be the next
Marcus J.
Look. Or I want to throw one in for the ladies. You might want to be the brat and just have your little show and doing your thing. And the whole point is come experience doing radio the right way, work with a team that has the branding and sales experience that I do and the operational experience. And we want people to know that, this for us is a business venture. So we're going to treat you like a business professional. We want your brand to be respected. So RVA The Talk, you guys our Facebook page is RVA The Talk. You can reach us there if you're interested. If you want to be a creator, if you want to spend an hour or two a week on air, then, we got a space for you. And it's not limited because it is internet. So, we're not here to censor the voice of the people. We can always run a little disclaimer.
the opinions,
the opinions of this talk show host are not reflective of the opinions of RVA The Talk.
Yeah.
We don't care. This is a time, and you guys know it. This is a time where a lot of people have opinions. A lot of people that could be helpful in different ways are not being given a platform, are not identifying platforms that would be helpful. And this world is changing.
Yeah.
And different voices need to be heard. And so, we want to hear from the smart people.
No, I can.
And usually the smart people are the everyday average Joe.
We try to be.
I'm so jealous because y'all be doing stuff. All I was doing was hanging up termination of leaks notices.
You was grinding, bro. That's important.
Right.
Yeah, that's important. It's important. So it's all
Next
good.
time you come on out, you check out the studio too. We'll have the non-alcoholic beverages.
Yeah,
that's all right.
We getting some love. I want to get a couple of shout outs, a couple of comments. She said good morning, so we can go through all of that. Just bear with me before we shift to our first topic. So first, Aaron Turner, I saw what you said, bro. You are outstanding. Aaron Turner put in the chat, Marcus J is the GOAT. And he also put, I stole a lot from him, bro. It's not theft. We brothers. Anything that we have come through together, we have shared together. I have booked a very special guest for next week's show, someone that is very important to my origin story and your origin story. If you think about it, you can probably guess there's someone who's never been on our show. And someone that's kind of been out of the game, never been on our show, who we will have on next week. So you know who that is. Aaron Turner is somebody who was there at the beginning of our career. So I hope that you rejoin us then, because it'll be a good time. And also for anybody who may be interested in getting into podcasting game and internet radio game. I've somewhat retired from that level of it. And I would 100% shift all of my energy and resources behind Steph and behind Michelle with RVA The Talk. Michelle is saying we need smart people. Let's go. It is the truth. And I'm very, very proud and very honored to be a part of the think tank.
Thank you. And that's exactly what it is. We're just picking your brain.
Yeah. I can dig that. After 12 years, I might have picked up a couple things. Uncle H is checking in. And Uncle H is reminding us that Aaron Turner is his nephew.
That's
Yeah,
right.
and so they are wonderful, wonderful, wonderful
Hence,
people.
Uncle
Yeah,
H.
yeah, Uncle H. There you go.
Now
sh-
Aaron's sharing him. You got to
yeah,
share him with all of us.
yeah, he's our uncle
He's
now.
our
He's
uncle now.
he's out
Sorry,
he's out
Aaron.
he's our uncle, Aaron, and I think that they would endorse us sharing the family. As I mentioned, I've got a couple of more shout outs that I need to get to, but she did say good morning. And so whenever she says good morning, we shift and we look at the camera together and we say it together.
Good
morning,
morning,
Sue.
Sue.
Yeah, you know how Steppin Marcus J live from NewDen Legacy and Radio. So I've got three very, very special shout outs that I want to give. The first one goes out to our sister, the career cheerleader, Cara Presley. As you can see, I am today wearing my successful t-shirt. And just because. So shout out to the career cheerleader Cara Presley, Legacy and That Radio alumni, doing wonderful, wonderful things.
That successful t-shirt is a bat signal.
Yeah,
for
man.
my girl out.
Yeah, did she come out?
I had the opportunity. Cara's everywhere.
Yes, she is. That's what I was about to say. What?
And I bumped into her at Radio B and Friends.
Okay.
At the winery.
Okay.
And I don't know what day it was, but I'll say this. I did. You sometimes Facebook will give you the algorithms of the things you could care less about.
Yeah.
And after I saw her, I saw something on Facebook like, man, I wish I would have known that. But you wouldn't have known anything because she just was smiling as usual. And, she's a dope chick.
She's our sister. We love her.
Yeah.
Shout out to Jersey City by way of Atlanta. My brother Jalil is checking us out. He says, greetings to all. What's good, my brother? Have a great and thought-provoking show in all aspects. Respect to all involved. Much respect to you as well. And shout out to the family. We know K-Dub, Jalil's sister Nairi, and the pretty boy Damon. None of them are going to be checking in tonight because they all at the Atlanta Braves New York Mets game in Atlanta right now. Yeah. So
I was checking out the box scores.
They checking us out. So Jalil, appreciate you being with us tonight. Two more shout outs and then we're gonna shift. As I wear tonight's shirt to represent the career cheerleader, my dope hat, also a product of Legacy Internet Radio alumni, our sister Bella of Twi After Dark, and her company, That Queen-ish. So this hat came directly from their catalog. So peace to our sisters. And the last shout out that I wanted to get out is a brother that I rock with in my usual vocation. I told him earlier today that the way that he and I rap, he deserves to have a production credit, certainly on this show and potentially on other shows, because he often gives me ideas and things to talk about, and he helps to talk with me about performance of myself on the show and the things that he agrees with and the things that he doesn't. But I need him to know that I'm very, very, very thankful for him. My brother Double H, you know who you are. You in Cleveland, Ohio. It's a wonderful, wonderful city that I hope to join one day, because the first beer is 100% absolutely on me, Double H. So appreciate you, bro. I hope to talk to you about what I'm talking to you about right now at some time in the future. But you deserve those flowers, bro, because you rock with us every single week. You let me know that you do, and it's the first opportunity that I have taken. And I have given, because I could have done this before, but it's the first opportunity that I have taken to give you the flowers that you so richly deserve. So Double H, salute to you, brother. Ain't no how Steppin Marcus J live from NewDen Legacy and That Radio. So first time in the show, early in the show, first time in the show, I'm gonna say my corny line. Y'all ready for me to say it? Ready for me to say it? Ready for me to say it? Let us move on. Yes. Let's move on to the episodes, because we're gonna talk about some racism versus classism. So we're gonna jump right into it, and you up first. So that is the opening salvo from yours truly. Now our sister Steph B has the con. What you got?
Thank you, brothers. Thank you. So I happen to be on a very active social media app, and someone had basically posited that they think that classism is worse with Black people internally. Now we know that classism in general is a thing. It was one of the parts of racism, and then when institutionalized slavery kind of went away, they went toward, of course, the diversion of the classes, setting people apart. Well, this young person had put that their experience at HBCUs was that there is significant classism, that it is that while they were on campus, they were consistently experiencing levels of classism, that it was very clear the haves and have-nots between the Black students. They mentioned several colleges, including Howard and Hampton. And they said, you can clearly see on HBCU campuses that classism will be the death of, Black solidarity. And, when you go back 20, 30, 40, 50 years, when you start getting into white flight, there have always been people who have also looked at Black people who participated in fleeing certain locations and going to what they deem safer environments, aka the suburbs, right? Rarely the country, just the burbs. And those Black people have had, a spotlight on them consistently, where it's, well, when white flight occurred, middle-class Black people did not stay and help the communities with their tax brackets and so on and so forth. They fled as well. You will see that with bless you, with Black people who decide to put their children in private schools and things like that and remove them from the community school. People may say, well, this individual is classist. They're separating themselves. So my question is, do you think that currently amongst us, this display of classism based on, and it is based on wealth, it's based on experience, it's based on where people have grown up, do you think that will be the thing that internally becomes most detrimental to us? And I don't even think in comparison to racism. Is it detrimental? Is it a problem when Black people of a certain financial level or affluence decide that they want to have a different experience, whether that experience means leaving certain communities, not putting their children in certain schools, and so on? Is there a problem with it?
I don't necessarily think there's a problem with it. I think the problem is with our perception of it. Racism is very, 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 very organized machine construct. There's no levels of, how we're going to look at it and feelings. And no, it's systematic. It's designed. It's written out on paper somewhere. And it's a thing, institutionalized. It's a thing. It's a mechanism. What you're talking about is different people feeling different way about different stuff. And the problem is we keep going for the okie doke, which is Black. We are different, right? Why does it always have to be that we have to be the same? We're not the same. We're not the same. We think different. We move different. We act different. We have different. The only similarities that we share is the oppression and the violence, right? What people like to call Black culture is American culture. It's what happened when the people who were here, the natives to these people, to this land mass, was wiped out, right? With smallpox, then bred through with slaves that came over on the ship and others, and created this paradox here solely in America. That's the American experience. It's not a black thing, because all black people don't experience things the same way. We don't pray the same. We don't eat the same. We don't like the same foods. We don't like the same music. We are as diverse, I would say, as the world. And the fact that we let ourselves be put into this space that they call black will be our downfall. That's my opinion of it.
Hashtag Marcus Shea live from NewDen Legacy and that radio. I think this is an outstanding topic. I agree 100% with the last piece of what John said, particularly the part about the diversity of our people. But if I'm to get right to the heart of what the question is, will classism overtake racism? Is that essentially the heart of the question?
Will it be the internal defining factor of our experience with one another? Whereas racism, to John's point, racism has been such a factor in how we experience life in general. But
Right.
I'm speaking like internally,
Right.
within
With us.
the community,
With
within
us.
us, right?
So Jalil says black people are not monolithic in thought or action,
Don't
political or
disagree.
social. So I agree with that. I think that we do it to ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Like there's that thing about certain black people that see other black people, and the first black people are the white people of black people.
You know, I always say.
You know what I'm saying? And for those who don't know what I mean, like context clues here. Come on, people. But you know, more specifically, I think that we often look at certain sections of our culture, of our people who may not have a certain level of affluence, and we look down on them. We do that to ourselves as black people. It's something that has been bred into us from white supremacy, the culture that we live in. Again, you know, we this isn't a conversation about white people, but it's 100% about a conversation about how the system has affected us as black people. So if we were to take this question to a national level and speak specifically to how the nation views us, I wouldn't say that classism would be an issue, because rich people don't fuck with poor people, doesn't matter what color they are.
They really don't.
And they don't fuck with black people because black people are black people. But if we're specifically speaking of our community, absolutely we find ways to oppress one another. It used to be the brown paper bag test. You ain't dark enough. You know what I'm saying? And that was our way of rejecting all things white. Because if you light skinned, we ain't fooling with you. You too close to white. You know what I'm saying? And we don't fuck with them. You know what I'm saying? So there's a whole lot of that actually, you know, plays into this. So that's kind of how I would start it. You know, obviously there's certainly more to this conversation, you know, and we're not always nice to each other. We don't need a reason to be mean. You know, we would be as kids, we would joke, oh, you got holes in your shoes. Well, maybe
you wearing bobos.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, all the little things. Like, there's no more mean spirited without trying human than a child. You ain't trying to be mean.
They're making an effort.
You know, they ain't even trying, but they gonna say some harsh, cold-blooded stuff. Ain't no how Steph Marcus J live from NewDen Legacy and that radio. Jump in here, John.
Yeah, my only thing with that, I don't disagree with it necessarily, but I believe that the experience, again, it's not a black thing. It's an American thing, right? We only pick up and put down what we were given, right? So the experience that black people are having is not exclusive to black people, right? That same classism happens throughout
I
communities.
Stipulated that earlier,
right?
On.
So, but I say that to say again, the problem we're having is identifying the problem as black, as opposed to identifying the problem as a problem that, okay, how about this? It affects us differently because of institutionalized racism. So we suffer the effects of not being able to build a community because of it. And you said about how white people view us. White people view us as unsuccessful because we have been deemed by media, by the country, as the low, the unsuccessful, the don't be around them or you're going to be like them, and nobody wants to be like them because they are observed as the bottom of the totem pole. So I personally don't think it'll have such a bad effect on us where it would overtake racism in any way. And I don't think it has a worse effect on us than it does on anybody else. But I believe that we suffer the consequences more because we lack the resources or access to the resources in order to make a difference. See, you can get a poor white person, give him a haircut, a shave, and a suit, and he can go get a job somewhere. You can get a black person with 2 college degrees with the same haircut, suit, and everything, and still won't get the job just because of the color of his skin. Now, because of that, we cannot afford, we do not have the luxury of subscribing to the tenets that are the regular American thing and trying to tell black people that, they turn a deaf ear. You tell them, no, we can't do that. That goes back to the black on black crime. It's not a thing. But unfortunately, because we are submitted to harsher punishment within the criminal justice system, we cannot afford to do similar crime. We can't, because again, we are earmarked for prison. We're earmarked for failure. We're earmarked for poverty. So I think that needs to be the discussion among the group, saying, listen, when you're this complexion, you can't do what you think is the regular because you're going to get punished worse.
Let me challenge you. I hear you. I don't necessarily disagree with you, but I do want to challenge you based on what you just said, juxtaposed with things that you've said in the past. You don't like it when we talk about how we as black people need to be better and do better, how we teach our children that. Right. So talk to me about how those two things play into each other. How does don't be, you know, the part about, you're not supposed to be better. You just are who you are versus what you said before that.
Okay. Being who you are does not mean that you have to participate in a system that is designed, right? So that's like saying be who you are, and because you live in a neighborhood where, drug selling is prolific, you're going to be a drug dealer. No, get away from that. That don't fall into that trap. And when I'm saying the idea of classism, right, about, your family's from here, so you're this kind of person, and you don't have this, so you're this kind of person, is unintelligent. It doesn't fall into the same category of, listen, you got to be, what we tell people, you got to be 3 times as good to get half as far. No, you got to be good because it's important to be good. It's in your best interest to be better than, not because you're black you have to be better. That's the difference.
All right, so work me back to the classism part. Work me back to how racism and classism play into each other and how classism wouldn't overcome racism.
Before we were part of any class, when we were subjugated to chattel slavery, our oppressors and captives practiced that classism. That's how we understood it, and it was indoctrinated. House versus the field, the good shed versus the bad shed. Who got to eat house leftovers and who didn't, and so on and so forth. Things like that. That ideology was indoctrinated in us, and we picked it up. But again, it's an American thing. It's not it's not our thing. That's what I'm saying. We cannot we can't call it our thing.
Amongst us.
Amongst us, no. We have to recognize that it's something that we've been indoctrinated with. It's not necessarily our nature. We didn't create it. It was handed to us and we picked it
But
up.
we have it.
We have it, but all we do recognize. Some people ain't gonna change. They're gonna be who they are. I don't mind if you be who you are. If you tell me you're gonna put other people down because they don't have, and that's who you're gonna be, but you recognize that is learned behavior from your and if you understand it, if you can conceptualize it, and that's what you want to do anyway, I'm good with you because you got the right to feel and do whatever you want to do. Just mind your business as far as I'm concerned. But all I'm saying is this: do not. You must acknowledge the root of the situation and understand where it came from. That's what I'm saying. If we can do that, if we can acknowledge it and accept it and know and identify it and stop and not make it a black thing, I think we can get past it. I don't think we get past racism like that. Racism, the whole thing's got to get tore down and rebuilt. So that's why I don't think the one is going to be the destruction from within. I think the destruction from within will come behind, one, thinking that your God is a white man with a beard, and also feeling that you don't have a right to protect yourself and your family if a white person is trying to hurt you. That's still in the minds of the majority of black folks. So I think that's really where it's going to come from.
Yeah, I mean, I've always said that black folks, as a general, are scared of white folks, but this is a conversation I think is more central for us. Our conversation. I mentioned white supremacy because it's a system that we all live under, but I think it's important to note that some conversations should be solely amongst us and our people. And, with respect to everybody who has an opinion, some conversations just don't require your opinion. not you, me, not us. I'm talking.
I can co-sign that.
Yeah,
certain things need to be in house.
No, I can dig it. Ain't no how Steppin, Marcus J, live from NewDen Legacy and that radio. You good? All right. Let's shift. Let's talk about Donald Trump, y'all. I have made a point lately to not do too much conversation about him, but I do marvel at how you could have as many indictments as he has and still be leading the polls to the point where he don't even got to show up for debates. I think the last poll that I saw, a CBS poll that I saw this morning, he was in the 60s, and next closest person, Ron DeSantis, I think was at the high teens, 15, 16%. How is it that someone with the kind of trouble that he's in and the amount of scrutiny on his past behavior, we ask this question rhetorically every time we talk about him, but I'm asking, I'm asking y'all, folks, I'm asking y'all, how is it that we find ourselves in a conversation where debates are literally going to start this week and he won't even be there to tell the country or answer for his record, shall we say, because he's so far ahead in the polls, while at the same time we know how much legitimate trouble this man is in? That's what I want to talk about next. So let's jump in here. Steph, talk to me a little bit about Donald Trump.
I mean, he is who he is at this stage in the game. That's all I gotta say. He is who he is.
What do you think, John? Talk to me.
I think he is. I think he's an honorary member of NWA.
Huh? You lost me. Make it plain.
He got his street cred.
Huh?
he got all the indictments and stuff and
Oh,
everything.
you going
So
tongue in
his
cheek
people,
here? Okay.
his people feel like he's the Teflon Don. Like, yo, yeah, y'all trying to get him and y'all can't get him because he's Trump. Y'all trying to do all this and all that. He's still the president. Y'all know he's still the president. That's why y'all can't do nothing to him. And guess what? They're sounding foolish, but they're appearing correct because he ain't been in court. He's not going to jail. And if he run, anybody in the Democratic Party that runs against him will lose.
Anybody
who's running.
Okay. Well, the reason why I asked that, because when we were talking, the three of us in our production meeting earlier, there was a name that came up.
Oh yeah, no, that could happen.
There was a name that came up,
right,
of a person who is, I guess we can assume this person is a part of the Democratic Party, but I don't know that they've ever said
I don't know
their specific allegiance. And we're referring to Michelle Obama. You know, we know her husband was a Democrat.
Right.
Doesn't mean that she is.
Only hope. Only hope.
More tongue in cheek, but I just think that it's so far fetched to even think that she would run.
Right.
That the only way that I could really, in good conscience, talk about this is tongue in cheek.
No, go ahead. It's fine.
No. I just don't. If he runs, if he makes it, I don't see him losing. How's he gonna lose? Who is gonna beat him?
On the Democratic side?
On either side, who is going to muster enough? Who's gonna have enough energy, enough groundswell to compel people to come out in a higher number than the Trump people are gonna come out and vote for him?
I mean, it happened already.
Yeah, but they were coming off of some unthinkable things.
This is an unthinkable thing to a lot of people who really matter, and it's the independents. The people who, I mean, ABC just had a poll come out last week, and it legitimately said that 62% of the people who identify as independent, every area he was lagging, but he cannot win them. They were saying, they will not vote for him. They do not think he should be running. They think the charges are fair. They were saying literally the exact opposite. And when you would look at the numbers of the people who thought it was fair, it tracked right along with what his standard MAGA base is. MAGA is not, you cannot be the president. You can be the president and not win the popular vote, but you can't legitimately become president and not win the majority vote. In the sense of, it's like looking at New York and someone will say, well, he had more counties. Upstate New York is a ton of counties with cows, apple trees, and a few people here and there. So of course, he's not going to be able to win a place like New York because the population, the broader population in New York would be the smaller counties with more people, more population. And that population tends to trend more independent. Will he win what he wins with standard Republicans? Yes. But I also think the thing that people said years ago, people aren't really telling you if they're going to vote for him. I think that's not the common thing now. People who are going to vote for Trump do not feel bad. They are not abashed by it. They're telling you the truth now. Yes, I'm going to vote for him. Yes, I like what he did, so on and so forth. I don't think that, I don't think he's hard to beat for a Democrat. I think he's hard to beat for any Republican. I don't think you'll see I think this man could go to court and be convicted in two different localities. He could be in Fulton County and DC, and he will still be the nominee for the Republicans. I do not think that the average independent who originally voted Obama and then voted for him the first time, a lot of them didn't vote for him when he ran again. And I don't think this is helping his case. Do I think that anybody that lives in, red hat society is going to do it? Yeah, I think they absolutely will. But they are not the bulk of the nation. And I think just because they now, since I'm not allowed to bring anything in about the community, we'll go ahead and talk about white people because we love to censor them. But what I think you're going to find with white folk who are independent is that they're not going to be comfortable with the idea of voting for somebody who has 4 indictments on the table, 90 some odd charges. They're not going to do it. Not if they voted for Obama in the past and call themselves independent. And they showed it in the polling. They even showed it in a Fox poll. What I do think is there's no way you cannot run a campaign. I've been in debate, through college, I was on a debate team. You cannot win if you will not attack the argument of the person you're running against. You cannot win if you do not often attack the person in politics and how they think or how they're moving. Everyone else right now is running to be the vice president. They're running to be his side man. The only one who isn't is Chris Christie and Michael Pence, because Michael Pence knows it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
He also knows at this point he's not going to get the election. He knows he's not going to win in a primary. He knows that. So, and now you have all this stuff coming out. So now Michael Pence wants to sound like, the guy that everyone wants to paint him as.
Too late.
If Michael Pence was the man that he wants everyone to believe he was, he would have never needed to call Dan Quayle. You don't need to overturn this. You were hoping Dan Quayle or someone would put a little battery in your back so you would do it. So Pence is out. Pence is out because he promoted MAGA-ism this whole time. And MAGA turned on him on January 6th. He's out. Chris Christie is the only person that ultimately will appeal to these independents when these indictments start to come down, and if Fulton County has a public hearing, which state courts are allowed to have, they're allowed to televise them. I just don't see a bunch of people who last time said, I didn't vote for Trump this time. I voted for him after Obama. I didn't vote for him against Biden because I didn't like what he did. I can't imagine that all of a sudden they're going to be like, the guy killed, during the pandemic, he was a mess and a bunch of people died. We didn't vote for him. But, something turns me on about these indictments and the fact that he might be in jail. I just don't see them going back to them.
No.
You can say you don't like what's happening on the Democratic side. And that's really what I heard. Tell me you hate the Democrats without telling me you hate the Democrats. I heard that. I heard they don't have what it takes. They don't have the manpower. They don't have the muscle. I don't like what Biden's doing. Whatever. I hear all of those little things when people legitimately say that Trump, that no one can beat Trump. I just can't. There's too many Democrats. Honestly, if they didn't want to run Biden, there are other Democrats that could win. But I think that.
Well, that was my question.
I think that
address that.
I think that plain and simple, Biden's going to run. There is no unless he dies, he's going to run. There's no reason for me to talk about anything else in the sense of who and what. I look at it from a perspective of Biden actually has accomplished things. There are Republicans, when they don't think anybody's listening, they cannot deny that this man has been the most successful. Is he the candidate we all wanted? At this stage in the game, I don't want any old white men, nor do I want any old white women who are calling themselves allies and assigning themselves these labels. No, I don't want any of them. However, I'm not going to deny what's right in front of me. I'm not going to deny that for the first, the whole last year, we were screaming this man was running us into recession. We haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
The price of eggs and milk go down, up and down all the time. And anytime someone gets on and they try to use that, they are using that as a reflection of inflation. That's not really what that is. And what it becomes is it's misinformation to people who are lesser educated. Just like saying, oh, Biden, he's only sending $700 to Hawaii, but he sent this much to Ukraine. That is two different pots, first of all. And second of all, you're voting that's two different levels of decision making. So we got to be careful, because you can, again, not like the individual that currently is the president, but to say that Trump would be unbeatable no matter who he runs against is almost disingenuous, dismissive of what's really happened over this time, the significance of the indictments, but then even more so importantly, it's really dismissive of the fact that people are not as stupid as we like to call them, and not we, but as you may like to call them. They're not. They see these indictments. MAGA's going to vote for this man if he's sitting down. He could be sitting in Chesterfield County. They're going to vote for him. But I just can't imagine that if he runs, he's got these indictments hanging over his head. There's nobody that could beat him. Now, I do think that someone like a Hakeem Jeffries, someone like him, a little bit more progressive, but also traditional in a democratic sense. I think that if he builds his political capital, he has time. I think if Gavin Newsom ran, it would be very hard to vote against him. Even with the hurricane that went on, it would be hard to vote against a Gavin Newsom.
I did hear about the earthquake. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think that Trump is beatable, and I'm not saying it in the same dismissive, living in a bubble way as we may have thought when he was running against Hillary. We know he can win, but I don't think he's as unbeatable as people would like to perceive. I think he was unbeatable when we were expecting men and white women to ignore the patriarchy. That's when he was unbeatable. I think had you run a man against Trump the first time, he would not have won. I think Hillary, being a vagina person, is the reason you got Trump. I think that even black men, Eddie Glaude, who I love Eddie Glaude, Mark Lamont Hill, who said, well, since I'm in a blue state and I'm sure of the vote here, I'm going to abstain from voting. And that sends out messaging that we shouldn't be sending out.
That was
because at the end of the day, clearly we see it all counts.
Yeah.
So my question is, in wonderful, valid points. My thing is, the body politic in America has become popularity contest. I don't necessarily see Biden generating the energy that is going to make people come out and vote in the number they need, because it's not a vote for Biden as much as it is a vote against Trump.
And let's not underestimate the power of that.
Right. So I don't see that in 2024, the way, look, and we still got a long way to go, right?
Yeah.
So things can pick up and change, right? But the way that the news cycle is going, the names that are on the tongue and in the public record and what's going on, who has the popularity right now, and that's why I go back to the street cred with the indictments. That can make a sharp turn if he goes to court and it's real and things look real. Yeah, that could be a sharp turn if people get some energy behind voting against him. But someone has to get the people moving and motivated and energetic. I don't like Trump, but he has a way of getting the people moving.
Well, I mean, that's what his business is.
And with the debates, the reason he doesn't debate because
he doesn't need to.
No, but here's what he does. He's going to let them debate, and then the day after, he's going to hold a rally and talk without a voice coming back, destroy everything they said in the debate.
He doesn't even need a rally to do that.
But he will, because he likes it.
He can have Truth Social. What I think is likely, he may go ahead and turn himself in on Wednesday just to distract from the debate, to suck the air out of the room. Listen, a lot of times when people say Trump is oh, he's stupid and so on and so forth. Would I sit him at a table with a bunch of intellectuals and say he's in the top 2%? No. And I don't care if there's two people there. No, he absolutely isn't. As a matter of fact, he's going to be the bottom 5. If 5 people aren't there, you're still in the bottom. But he is extremely intelligent. And this is what I always tell people. You don't need to be the smartest person to be the best businessman or the best politician. You need to be the best at messaging. You need to be the best at the popularity vote. You need to be the best at what you call creating the energy. And that's what he's done. It's no different than, him. He's a sideshow barker. He is PT.
He knows his audience.
He doesn't just know his audience. He knows an audience.
Yeah.
And so much so that there are people that were not his typical audience that voted for him. So he doesn't need to know his audience. He knows the nuance of salesmanship. He understands the thing that, I've worked with politicians and the back ends of their campaigns where we talk about messaging, and there is what you're saying and what people are hearing. I will tell you, I can sometimes sit in this room, and as a woman, I'm like, yes, I must be from Venus, because I don't think what I said was heard. I think that's how people misunderstand Trump. He is going to say the right thing, and it's going to capture enough people because he understands that the messaging isn't just about him. It's about what you hear. And he wants you to hear certain things. I'll tell you this. I absolutely 100% agree that everybody else in the Republican Party has fumbled the bag as it relates to if they truly want to be president. They have all failed drastically this early in the game, because not only have they not directly addressed him, they have not, they have co-signed. I don't think he should be arrested. I don't think he should be arraigned. I think he should be pardoned, so on and so forth. So he's even got them in a position of, one, fear of annoying the electorate that votes for him. 2, agreeing with him when he's wrong, so the electorate won't be mad at him. And then 3, making it next to impossible to change your mind without the other side of the electorate running ads that says, Ted Cruz said this, Tim Scott said this, Nikki Haley said this. He has gotten them in a position of where even when they say the smallest, you know what, you shouldn't be this, if you're indicted on a felony, you shouldn't be running for president. Nobody cares when they say that. You already co-signed. So that's where Trump is masterful. His mastery is understanding language like true salespeople, which is, let me get the message out. I've heard what you all are saying. I'm crafting my message to your pains. So the pains of the white electorate was, not that they want to acknowledge it, but we feel like we're not going to be the oppressors that we've always been. And we're afraid we're losing that position, that oppressive position, and God forbid the Negroes get it. So he told them, not only are the Negroes coming, the brown people are coming. And they were like, oh shit, that's the message we've been feeling. And then the next step is, once I've got you to believe that I'm speaking to your pain, you definitely are going to listen to me as the salesperson when I tell you what the solution is. And all I have to do is tell you the solution I think is you believe is going to be best for you. You don't need to know the process. You don't need to know how I'm going to get it done. You just need to believe me. And you already do, because I spoke your language. That is true salesmanship. The third step is, now I give you a little bit. I give you just a little bit of what you need. Now I've got you sitting in a space where you're like, yep, he told those Negroes off. Did you see him when he got in the stands and he said, punch that guy in the face, and they punched that black guy, and he said he would bail us out and nothing happened? That's small. Didn't change anything on my dinner table, didn't put any money in my pocket, but it did give me a sense of satisfaction that the people who think they're going to take over cannot do it if this guy is here. He has mastered it. I would use him as a breakdown for salesmanship in any classroom if I were teaching. He understands what he is doing. And I would say to kids today, he is an example of, you don't need to be good at everything. You need to be excellent at one thing. He is excellent at that one thing. He does it well. And that will get him what he needs with the Republican Party.
So do you think that it is important, or that it is key to his success, that he does not care about getting any Democratic votes? I think Democrats always think about, we got to get some of the Republicans to turn. We got to get Trump don't want to get nobody but who he got.
He doesn't care.
Right. He doesn't care. If you come, you come. If you don't, I don't care.
Not one without you.
I think he thinks there's enough white people out there that he can convince that it isn't going to matter.
Yes. And also, there is still, even when the numbers show you different, you will watch everyone get on TV and talk about how the black vote didn't show up. every single time. No
I
matter
get annoyed by
how
that.
we show up in droves,
I get annoyed by that.
they immediately go, well, you know, we got to look at the black vote here.
Or the black
problem
folk,
is
or the black
we-
folk
that's
put
not
this,
the
the black
truth.
vote put this person in office, or
Yes.
if the black vote would have turned out, this
Then this
person
wouldn't
would
have-
have got elected.
Right. That's not the truth.
I don't
Do we
subscribe
vote the
to
way
that.
that we should in the numbers that we should? No, not for us
No,
and our
no,
needs.
no.
But as far as voting as a part of the electorate, black folks show up.
It's hard often to vote Republican because often the face of the Republican Party is somebody that is adverse to us as an
Yes.
individual, like that person. And so it'll often put the negative connotation on the Republican Party, which I honestly believe that it firmly deserves to be there. You know, when I look at Donald Trump,
But
I
when it
remember.
doesn't, it's too late.
Well,
right?
yeah, of course. I look at Donald Trump, like I said, similarly to what you just said, Steph, about how when he ran in 2016, I remember the smoke that I got into with folks on this show and folks in my personal life when I said that he was smarter than everybody in the room. He was. Why? Because he done figured out how to piss off enough people while at the same time encouraging enough people to get what he wants.
Yep.
You know, I never really thought about how the 2016 election might have turned out had the Democratic Party had a man run against Donald Trump. I didn't think about that. I have not thought about that. I knew at the time because politics was different, the culture was different, the climate was different. I've never been a fan of Hillary Clinton. It's got nothing to do with her being a woman. It's got everything to do with her. I don't like her. I've never liked her. But I understand and I recognize as a Monday morning quarterback, had I and many of the folks who felt the way I felt put aside the personal disdain for her and understood the bigger picture, that we would not be in a lot of the trouble that we're in now. I understand that. I acknowledge that. I was one of those people here in Virginia. I didn't care about who everybody else was voting for. I still don't. I never care about what the person in the booth next to me is going to do. I think anybody that does that, you know, you don't take people's votes away, but if you could, that would be a reason for it. Having said that, you know, I looked at Hillary and Donald Trump and I didn't care for either of them. I was one of those people that felt stuck. Like, fuck, who am I supposed to vote for? I don't like neither one of them. I didn't understand the full brunt of what Donald Trump was capable of and what he would actually do. And that's on me, because I was also someone who would come on here every single week and tell folks about how my experience growing up in the tri-state area, being the same age as the Central Park Five, and my father leading me the way he led us as 15-year-olds, and seeing what happened to those boys and looking at how Donald Trump played into it and how he acted and performed, and the things that he said and did at the time should have been the preview for us, for me. It was in the sense that I was very vocal about how he was someone that I would never support. While I enjoy watching The Apprentice, like many folks did, I didn't want that guy who walked into the boardroom to be the president of a country that I live in. You know, so I realize and understand where, you know, I and folks like me were short-sighted and deficient. Having said all of that, I get frustrated by the electorate in our country who can view a lot of the same things that I view and come up with a completely different interpretation. When, for me, someone that's been indicted, that's it. Why would I want to go down the path with someone with that much drama? You know, and to take it a step further, I saw a poll that said over 90% of Republican voters felt that the indictments and the different lawsuits that are coming towards him are politically motivated, which struck me as odd, because if you think about just think about Georgia, for example. They coming for him because he said there got to be 11,000 votes out there. Find me. I don't know the specific quote, but you know, that was the gist of it. And Georgia's a Republican state. It's red. And the people he was dealing with are Republican people. And now they want to criminally, deal with them. But these your own people. These your people. That ought to tell you how egregious what he was doing was actually.
No one who testified in the grand jury was a Democrat.
You know what I'm saying?
In any of the grand juries.
The
people that they have statements from, to your point.
Well, it also speaks to the ignorance of the folks who, one, the Republican people who are polled, and two, his electorate, the people who are his 30 or 40%, whatever it is, because he told them that it was a witch hunt. He told them that the people coming for him are nefarious and terrible people and all of the bad things that he's saying about these people. But he's figured out a very craftful way of, let me not even say it that way. Let me say it this way. Some folks think because they talk louder that they're going to get their point across a little bit easier. And for some folks, it works.
I was just going to say, if you read books on authoritarians, that's the point, is keep saying the lie over and over again. There are going to be enough people who go, he wouldn't say that if it was a lie. Right. And so the poll that I think I put it in our group, the poll that shows that he is believed, Republicans said 52% they believe, 62% believe him more than they believe family members. And then you go down the list. It's family members, it's conservative media, all the way down to the pastor. 42% of Republican voters trust Trump's word more than they trust their religious leader. He was pushed by the evangelical movement. Now, this may be his downfall when and you have it up. Thank you, Marcus, have it up there for people to see. But 71% said they believe Donald Trump, period. They said 63% say they believe him more than they believe friends and family. People you grew up with, have known your whole life. So your daughter could come along, and we've seen it. Daughters and sons talking to the elders in their family, and they're like, no, he says things enough, and to your point, loudly enough. I do want to say one thing about Hillary Clinton. Right after she lost, a poll went out asking why you don't like her. Not why you didn't vote for her. And most people did not have a reason. And, it's interesting because she's been more successful than half of the people running in either party in every role she has played. But if you're very honest, the hatred for her developed the minute, because here it goes. Voted for her husband twice. She didn't make policy. Voted for him twice. Most people who are Democrats that say they don't like Hillary voted for her husband twice. You really have to dig deep. And this is why I say this is a country where I struggle to see them. When I say them, I mean males, pull back and just be willing to vote for the woman. You voted for men you don't like because you didn't want to vote for that last guy. But it was very common in polling. Don't know why you don't like her. And the fact of the matter is, there are a large majority of people, even you had 53% of white women who didn't vote for her, who voted for Trump. There are a large majority of people that don't like a mouthy woman, that don't like a woman perceived a certain way. So while Hillary wasn't making policy, and she was functioning as a first lady, and she happened to function as one that wasn't so focused on the rose gardens and reading books to children. She was focused on something very significant at the time, that had we followed her then, we may not be in the position we're in now with healthcare, even Social Security. She made some very good points about that, and that's already going to be gone. But if you're really honest, a lot of people just are not ready. And what you judge a woman politician on is very different than what you're judging the men off. The likability factor is based on very different things. You see it with Kamala or VP Harris. And so, when I hear the She wasn't progressive enough, or oh, she said the super predator things. Listen, as a woman who looks like the woman that she looks like, yeah, growing up in the 80s in New York, some of your sons were super predators and needed to be put under. And they were predators against the people that looked like them because that was proximity and closeness. So call a spade a spade. Stop being mad every time somebody talks about your bad behavior. And that when I saw people running against it, oh, now you mad because which was completely wrong, and I can easily debunk it with so many articles. Oh, Kamala's putting black parents in jail for truancy. Why are your kids truant? I want to talk about that, but I can't talk about it because white kids go truant too. No, I want to talk about that, sis, because if your kid is truant and he's getting into trouble, he's likely getting into trouble right here where we live. If he's going to mess with something, a car, or break into a house or what have you, he's going to do it where we live. If he's bullying my grandmother and she can't go out and water her plants and not worry, it's going to be in my community where I live right next door to you. So there's this other element of when somebody tells us the truth about who we are and how we're behaving, we don't like it. Oh, well, she said the super predator thing. Some of your sons are still super predators.
Ain't no hashtag Marcus Shay live from NewDen. Legacy in their radio. I will say that while I did not.
I voted for Hillary. Look.
Now just seems so like who gets in trouble? Like if you think about who was it? John, he was a Democrat and he cheated on his wife, and then that came out. No, down in South Carolina, he had the nice hair.
Yeah,
John Edwards.
Yeah, the
oh,
lawyer.
Look at
lawyer.
this. I mean,
The
literally,
wife
this,
had cancer, right?
yes, and he cheated on her. But look, he was at the top of his game.
He was it.
He was right there. White ladies were swooning for him. Black women were like, okay, maybe, Brothers was like, you know what? This dude is suave. He got it. And Anthony Weiner, that guy shouldn't be near any politics. But it's just the irony of.
Yeah, how do you fall off like that?
The irony of.
That's like Daddy Cuomo. What did you not run?
I mean, and that's my thing. Like, we pushed Al Franken out of the Democratic Party. Really what helps Trump is the weakness of the other party, the unwillingness to speak up.
I've always said that my frustration and my entry into independence came directly from the Democrats, not like, I get frustrated because politically Republicans seem to be willing to do and say whatever needs to be done and said, whereas the Democratic Party often doesn't take the high road. And, there's room for you to fight back. You have ammo. You know what I'm saying? And just because you say your little thing on MSNBC, like, it's just not the same. Like, I did not like how when they were running, Joe Biden avoided saying a lot of the hard stuff because it was beneath him. It's just like, I mean, I got you, but it's not like it ain't part of the public record. It's not like we don't know who this dude is. Why can't you, as the Democratic person who's running for the presidency of the United States, say, yo, this dude right here is the front of the Republican Party that's supposed to represent all kinds of evangelicals and everything, but he got a whole lady pregnant with a whole wife. He paying off porn stars. And some of the things that we know that he's done and said, like the Democrats don't come for you that way. No. And I have always had a problem with that. And so, I think that until I'm not even talking about that. But you have access, you have weapons. Use them. They are not beneath you. 10 AD. The last time we had a viable third party candidate was 30 years ago. Was Ross Perot. He was the last one. He was the last viable third party candidate, and you got a whole generation of people who don't even know who he was. So this is what I'm saying. So anyway, let's shift. Let us move on. You know how Steppin Markets here live from NewDen Legacy and that radio. Uncle H, we see you, we hear you. There's some folks that's experiencing some issues with technical stuff. We're up and we're going. We're up and we're going. I continuously are checking my feed, and my feed is up. So best I could tell you is refresh if you're having some issues. But we appreciate you staying with us. Shout out to James. James is with us. He's got bullseye to the family. BU Panther, appreciate you. Lefrell was talking about Donald Trump being an entertainer and a showman. I think when we gave Good Morning Sue earlier, we gave it to Lefrell. You know, but they both respond and they interact with us very, very similarly. So we say good morning to you, Sue, as well as you, Lefrell. I love you both. I know what today is. Shout out to Mama Flora. Peace to you all. Peace to Mama Flora. Would have been 80 years old and Mom if she was with us today. So
love you guys.
Love you all.
Yeah.
Love you guys. And shout out to Mama Flora. I'll share a quick anecdote about their mom. The time is the early 90s, 94, 5, somewhere in there. And we're at I said, well, I'll be there. And I know it's just the sweetest day. And so I always remember that. And she had an opportunity to come visit my home where I live now. I've been there a little over 20 years. So that was something Mrs. J and I talked about today prior to today's show. So you guys were definitely on our mind, and so was Mama Flora. So peace to you all, and peace to her, and peace to your family. We love you.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Marcus J live from NewDen Legacy Internet Radio. All right, John, it's time for Green Talk. Let's see, what are we talking about? We're talking about investing in the digital world, in this new digital world. So you got the comments, Cap.
Yeah, the landscape has changed. The what's going on today as far as investment philosophies and tools are different. With AI, people are creating robots, right? They always had them, but now they're creating them even more intricately so that they can do trading for them in a way that, you know, they're making, you know, 1 to 5% daily across 4 markets, which is an insane amount of money when you have a decent investment. So I want to just speak to the audience about, you know, the way you need to move. And we had missed a topic a couple of weeks ago with the 401k. 401ks are cool, you know, because you get matching dollars. And you get matching dollars. The reason your company is matching your dollars is because they get to write it off up to $65,000. Right. So up to $65,000, if they match the dollars, that is like a payroll. It's like a write-off tax to them. And you get taxed on it in the 401k. So they pass along their tax burden to you. So thing about the 401k is like it's not really a program as much as it is a law kind of thing. It's like like an addendum law. And you're going to only get about 40% of what you put in when it's all said and done because it's going to get taxed. It's good to move it into an IRA to avoid the tax and then move that IRA, of course, into life insurance. I talk about that all the time. We're still at the time where a good cornerstone of an investment portfolio is real estate. It's still a good investment. I see people on the internet, on TV, talking about don't buy a house, this is that. No, don't buy a house in an area where, you know, it's going to lose value. But most places in the country it'll hold value, and some places it'll gain value. it's just a good place. It is a good foundation if you know how to use it. That, and of course, whole life insurance. But playing these stock markets, I would suggest, just like your 401k, managing it where they allow you to pick aggressive, moderate, and non-aggressive funds. Spread the money out across different funds, and do that with your individual investing too. Spread it out among different funds. I know the luster is gone off of crypto, right? That people don't even talk about that no more, because the people who made their money made it, and the people who didn't, well, I feel bad for you. But again, blockchain is still viable. Blockchain is the future, and it's going to happen. What you want to do is make yourself knowledgeable about the way blockchain operates, so that you know where you might want to invest, and speak to a professional. There are tons of professionals out there who will help you navigate the landscape, and just operate within your budget, because this is not what it used to be. Buying stocks and bonds, e-bonds are still good. US e-bonds not going anywhere. The dollar's still strong. I mean, don't believe the hype with the BRICS coin. It's valuable to them. But where else are you gonna buy it? Where else you gonna buy it? You're gonna go to China, Russia, South Africa, and Brazil and buy what? Right? Anything that they sell, if we don't buy it in America, they're gonna have too much of it, and it's not gonna be worth anything. So again, make the cornerstone of your investment some life insurance, and some real estate, right? Don't burn your 401k, right? But when it gets to a point where you think it's some good money in it, move it over into an IRA. You could do that without being taxed. That's the key, to avoid that heavy tax, because that's where they get you at. That's where they get you at every single time. And don't quit your day jobs. I know a lot of people, y'all see these people online all the time talk about, I worked 2 hours today and I traded and I just made $10,000 and I'm going to the beach. Don't believe it. I'm telling you, as someone who traded Forex, I traded commodities, right? It don't work like that. It doesn't work like that. And now in the digital age with robots, you will get pushed out of a trade. You will get stuck in a trade. You'll not be able to pull the trigger the way you want to unless you got a G3 connection in your house. It's not going to happen. And you could think that you're online and all this. No, you will get shut out faster than you believe. And all your money will go fast. You won't even have a pre-trigger unless you know how to create a robot for you that will shut you down at a 7% loss no matter what. And even then, if it doesn't register online, you're still going to lose more. So please be very, 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 very careful in the age of AI with this digital format in your investing. And again, I'm here. Everybody sees my social media. You guys know me. Comment questions. I will answer them to the best of my abilities. It is not my forte with telling you what stocks to buy or what crypto or what funds, but I will tell you or help you to understand how to manage, how to budget your money to spread it over some safe investments that will get you the most gains. That's Green Talk.
Steppin, Marcus J. Live from NewDen Legacy and that radio. Peace to Mr. Thomas. Mr. Thomas says blockchain is very well and alive and thriving at speeds unimaginable. Yeah. Steppin, Marcus J. Live from NewDen Legacy and that radio. That's the comment. So we're gonna shift, right? We're gonna talk about Sage Steele, y'all. Now, for those Sage Steele, they're going to talk about Sage Steele. Sage Steele, for those who may not be familiar, she was a ESPN personality, and during the time frame where a lot of the businesses, probably kind of still now, but more prominently during the time where they were getting folks back on television in studios and not, during the remotes when the pandemic was hot. Sage refused to get the pandemic, the jab. I said, "Can refuse to get the pandemic? What the hell was that?"
Stick 'em.
Yeah,
Stick 'em.
she refused to get the shot, the jab, and so she sued them, and then recently vaccine, and she sued them, and she recently ended up leaving ESPN after very recently.
6 days ago.
Is within the last week, because she's back in the news. We haven't been talking about Sage Steele. Even those who are familiar with her haven't been talking about her for a long time. It hasn't been anything to talk about. She's back in the news now. Because she has left ESPN.
She settled
Mutually parted ways is the way they're going to say it. And there are many who believe that there's only a matter of time before she ends up on conservative talk radio and television. Is on its way. But I actually brought this Sage Steele up because I knew all this last week. I don't want to talk about Sage Steele. Let me back that up. I don't want to talk about her not wanting to get the jab because there's plenty of people who don't want to get the jab and ended up leaving their companies because of it. Ice Cube didn't do a movie because of it. Redman didn't do Power because of it. Like, there's plenty of people, black people, who don't want to get the jab, cost them whatever it is they cost them. And depending on how much they care about it, it is what it is. I brought up Sage Steele, and now she's on the table. So we can talk about whatever we want to talk about with Sage Steele. But I brought this up because of the story that just came out about her recently. And I'm going to read the headline and it's on the screen for those folks who are watching us right now. The headline says, Sage Steele claims Barbara Walters, quote, tried to beat me up, end quote, in the green room of The View. Now, it's from Yahoo, and I'm going to read some of this because it's, in my opinion, so outrageous that is I want to talk about it. So, as I mentioned, I'm getting this from Yahoo Entertainment. Sage Steele claims that Barbara Walters tried to assault her after a segment on Barack Obama in The View's green room. Quote, no, not quote, not ready for that part yet. On last Thursday, the former Sports Center anchor told Megyn Kelly, considered the source, about the alleged 2014 incident during an episode of the Megyn Kelly Show podcast. Now, before I read the next quote, why the hell are we just hearing about this now? And why are we going to talk about somebody that's been dead a year? I just had to get that out. Just had to get that out. Quote, it was Barbara, Whoopi, and myself in the dark green room off to the side. I was probably about 4 feet from the wall and the trash can, and Barbara was standing over here in front of me. She just started to back up toward me and looked at me and got close and elbowed me, and it pushed me back into the wall and the trash can. I was like, what did she just do to me? This 140-year-old woman just tried to tackle me, end quote. The rest of the story says Walters, who created, produced, and co-hosted The View for 17 seasons, passed away in 2022 at age 93, which would have made her 85 years old when this alleged incident took place. Steele alleges that Whoopi was a witness in the event. Quote, some of the producers saw it. Whoopi saw it. The 50-year-old sportcaster claimed. Quote, and Whoopi was like, come here, she's great. She pulled me aside in her little area and she's like, don't let her do it to you. And I'm like, am I in a movie right now? One of the legends in this industry just tried to beat me up.
Jesus.
Come on, man.
The bloviating. The overstate. I can't wait. Let me be quiet.
You are up first, Steph. You are up first. There's more to it, but I'm going to read this last piece. The ex-host informed Kelly that she'd had assignments taken away and that she was compelled to apologize, but she was allowed back on air. I did not want to apologize. I fought, and I begged, and I screamed, and I was told that if I want to keep my job, I have to apologize. I knew there was a line somewhere, just didn't know where it was until I crossed it. This is in reference to the comments that she made. She had a dispute with Walters about not supporting her, and made another feud with Donald Trump, and it escalated. Rosie O'Donnell's in the middle of all this. Like, it's a lot of bullshit. You jump in here stuff. I'm not reading all that.
So the reason that
I ain't reading
the
all
reason that Black Twitter is going in on Sage Steele is she took the opportunity with Megyn Kelly, who wants to be the foil to every Black woman. You know, anytime she's either if you're not Candace Owens or clearly Sage Steele, Megyn Kelly got smoke for you. She spent the last 6 months angry that her least favorite biracial is Meghan Markle. That's who she spent the last 6 months beating up on. Now this is her biracial friend. So here's the real issue and why Sage Steele came up in the news. She did the interview with Megyn Kelly. The interview was prefaced on Black people have been the worst to me because I identify as biracial. Now, anybody who sees a picture of her, she looks like an 80s Whitney Houston knockoff. She's not very light skinned. I mean, she got John by 5 shades, so she's not very light skinned. So she, to me and to many other Black people, and she doesn't have John with a 10. So a lot of the situation with Sage Steele is she is trying to become a media darling, and she's riding off the backs of Black people, saying, well, I can't criticize because I'm biracial. They don't say I'm Black enough, and so on and so forth. Truth of the matter is Sage Steele went on a MAGA level rant for weeks and months on end. She started out with Jamil Hill, picking a fight with Jamil Hill because Jamil had she got the I want to dance with somebody look, skinny like on everything. So she first got mad at Jamil Hill, basically calling Jamil out because Jamil had comments about MAGA and Trump and the whole Kaepernick situation. Her next step was to say, and these are the words she used that got her in trouble with ESPN, got her a short-term suspension or something. She was on Jay Cutler. We all remember Jay Cutler, quarterback. She was on Jay Cutler's podcast, and she said, it's just amazing to me that Barack Obama identifies as Black when he's biracial, like me, because that's her brand now. Everybody got to know I'm biracial. Since I'm dark enough, you might just think I'm a Black woman with a curly weave. I need to tell you I'm biracial. And by the way, this happens a lot. Biracial folks, y'all are not special little unicorns with wings. Stop it.
We're not.
No, y'all not.
Oh.
None of y'all. I don't care what your biraciality is. I don't care if it's whatever Black in this you think makes you an exotical. You're not special. Biracial people, multiracial people have existed since the beginning of time. The only difference now is some of y'all ain't in the house and the rest of us ain't in the field. So you can get over it. Sage's thing is Black people hate me because I'm biracial. She said that Barack Obama identifying as Black is funny considering his Black father was nowhere to be found. Those were the words that brought her to the radar of Black people, compiled by then saying during the Me Too movement that when a woman dresses a certain way, she is a party to her sexual assault. Okay, boom. Then the Jamil Hill thing. Then she went on The View, and that's where Barbara confronted her about her statement about Barack Obama and said, well, on the census. Now, mind you, white folks don't get to question me about what I fill out on the census. You're the problem with the census anyway. The history of the census means if we ain't discussing why it's problematic, we ain't discussing nothing. So Barbara Walters asked her why she said that, what does she fill out on the census? And she goes, I don't know when the last time I did my census, which is so interesting how Republicans all of a sudden, the things that are considered very American, when they don't do it, it's not un-American, but whatever. And she said, well, Barack Obama said he fills out Black. And she again said, and that's where I have a problem, because it's like acting like his white mother and grandmother who raised him don't matter. So she's on a crusade to fight to be identified as biracial, and none of us care. The only thing Black folk care about is she has rampant anti-Blackness. She says a lot of anti-Black things, but instead of her addressing that, she went to this white woman show and said the common thing that biracial women will say it, Latina women will say it. Well, they're jealous of me because I'm biracial. Sweetie, no, nobody's mad at you. You're not a special unicorn. Stop it. So, now the other thing she said, they called her the Candace Owens of ESPN. And she said, yeah, I love Candace. So immediately you're going to be on the opposite side of the average Black voter who now is hearing you speak politically in your space as an ESPN commentator, who, by the way, was on the 12 o'clock slot, which is probably why you wouldn't see her. But yeah, so that's Sage Steele in a nutshell.
That's the backstory.
That's her.
That's the backstory of somebody who was attacked by an 85-year-old woman.
Yeah. And
physically assaulted.
This is the thing I wanted to mention. So
I'm sorry.
So I also want you to see what many Black women will point out about the escalation of description of an event. A Black woman and a white woman are having an engagement, conversation. It gets a little heated, maybe debate worthy. And the Black woman leans in and says, I don't understand why you're even, this is silly to me. You don't make sense or whatever. And the white woman will say, she got in my face. Sage Steele basically did this talking about an 84-year-old woman. It went from she elbowed me to like she tackled me.
And a whole embellishment.
And so all of her behaviors, all of her language are indicative of exactly the thing that she tried to do with Jamil Hill. You can walk around screaming you're biracial, but your behaviors identify with the Karens. You have Karen-esque behavior. This woman didn't tackle you at 84.
Come on, man.
And if she died in her 90s of dementia, which was one of the big things was Alzheimer's, they even said towards the later years that Barbara Walters
wasn't right.
She wasn't all there. So the story's not necessary. This is just the grift that we see continuing in politics. The grift of I'm the victim, which is exactly how Trump has gotten in. I mean, we can go right back to the first topic. And for Sage Steele to use Black people as the foil, we didn't do anything to that lady.
Hell no.
And Black people stopped caring about who's biracial so many years ago. Nobody cares.
That's because we all are in some way anyway. I got so many white people in my family. And if somebody wants
curly hair, your curly Whitney Houston do, there's 1,000,001 beauty shops that they could buy it at. Stop acting funny. You ain't cuter. You ain't more interesting. You just want people to know you're not all Black. So this is your campaign.
John, real quick on Sage Steele, and then I have a few stories that I want to quick hit and get in and get out real quick as we are about 40 minutes past into our second hour. Give me something on the topic, and then I'm going to shift us into some other stuff.
If Barbara Walters reached into her bag and pulled out a baseball bat, a Yankee Day giveaway bat, and beat her upside her head, she should have never said a word about it. Right? Because if you as a person of a certain age can't get out the way of Barbara Walters swinging on you, you deserve to get hit. And how dare you bring it up?
Yeah,
You want to know? It's like a no-win situation. Like I used to, get into this stuff as a person a certain size. I'm like, I can't fight certain people. I can't win.
Yeah.
If I beat them, or you picked on somebody smaller than you, if they do me in, it's like, yo, you let that little dude tear you up. Like there's a no-win.
Yeah.
You can't win talking about what Barbara Walters did to you, you moron. Anyway, this woman is
he
not
said that in a way that only you can say it. I like that. Yeah.
There's a woman. I don't understand. Why can't we get rid of her? What's the woman's name who was on the show with Issa Rae? With Lisa Ray. Who was the woman that was on the show with her?
There was a couple. You talking about on the show, Insecure?
The politically enhanced one though. What's her name? The actress.
Oh, you're talking about Amanda Steele.
Amanda
Yeah,
Seals.
let me get some of her and a whole lot less of this other one. Like, for real, can we trade?
Yeah.
Can
she
we
was
trade?
on
Can we
there.
get?
Yeah,
Can we
yeah,
get a
yeah, yeah.
platform with her and then you and
Well,
Candace?
people hate Amanda too.
Right, but
I like
why?
Amanda.
Well,
But I like her.
I like Amanda.
Listen. I don't necessarily agree with a lot of her delivery, but I will get in line and fight for her right to say what she needs to say, right? And she doesn't do stuff like that, you know.
Two
On
different
the other side,
wavelengths.
yeah, like come on, man, let's get her in. And I wish like Candace Owens.
Yeah.
I mean, for real,
Yeah.
that's the sad thing is she's a smart woman. She's an intelligent,
She's a grifter.
educated
You would think. Ain't no
black
has
woman, but she just
ain't no has Steppin Marcus J live from NewDen Legacy on the radio. All right, so let's get a couple of quick hits in. Let's start with the SCOTUS. Unprecedented, stunning, disgusting. Clarence Thomas condemned over billionaire gifts. I'm getting this from The Guardian. Clarence Thomas has been condemned for maintaining, quote, unprecedented and shameless links to right-wing benefactors after ProPublica published new details of his acceptance of undeclared gifts, including 38 vacations and expensive sports tickets. Pramila Jayapal, a Washington State Democrat and chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, rendered an especially damning verdict. Steph, after this, please respond. Unprecedented, stunning, disgusting, the height of hypocrisy to wear the robe of a Supreme Court justice and take undisclosed gifts from billionaires who benefit from your decisions. 38 free vacations, yachts, luxury mansions, skyboxes at events. Resign, she posted. From Dick Durbin, senator out of Illinois, Democratic Judiciary Committee chair, said, quote, the latest revelation of unreported lavish gifts to Justice Clarence Thomas makes it clear these are not merely ethical lapses. This is a shameless lifestyle underwritten for years by a gaggle of fawning billionaires. Let's see. There's a few other comments here. I'm trying to see if I want to read any of them. Who? Adam Schiff. Okay. Adam Schiff, a House Democrat running for Senate in California, said, quote, the scope of Justice Thomas's undisclosed receipt of luxury vacations from billionaire takes your breath away, as does this court's arrogant disregard of the public. Every other federal court has an enforceable code of ethics. The Supreme Court needs the same. Sherilyn Ifill, former director of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, NAACP, legal fund. I just like saying that. I just like to say it. Said Thomas had created, quote, a crisis, and we need to start treating it as such. Our profession, the Senate Judiciary Committee, newspaper editorial boards, and the Chief Justice will need to summon the courage needed to call for what by now should be the obvious next step. There's other folks in here who are making comments, but I think we've gotten it appropriately set up. Steph, you got it. You got the con first. Clarence Thomas taking gifts. This ain't new. We talked about this a few weeks ago.
When Anthony Scalia died on that trip out to that cabin.
When he like hunting or something?
He was hunting. He was at a hunting cabin. That was one of those luxury trips. And, you know, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, she was treated to a trip to Jerusalem. She disclosed it. Let's take a step and remember that this man was supposed to be replacing Thurgood Marshall.
1991, he took the bench, and
it shouldn't be that we're exchanging a black for a black. I'm not saying that in that way. I know that we're not a monolith,
but we also think it's a cool thing,
right?
For us,
one black justice, and then you replace you trade out for a second black justice. There is an upcoming thing that's going to be talking about how Clarence Thomas migrated politically from progressive to what is ultra conservative. But the fact of the matter is, and Chief Justice Roberts sent a message to the Congress that should bother us, because the fact of the matter is they need significant oversight. This article is right. I went and looked, and the rules about what you can do, what you can disclose, what can happen when you're a federal jurist, when you're a federal judge. These people might as well just say no to everything. They can't really take anything. A dinner above a certain amount, you basically are taking them to Chick-fil-A, and anything above that, you're reporting. The fact that you have federal judges that feed up to SCOTUS, and SCOTUS doesn't have the same ethical responsibility, and that the Chief Justice came back and said that it would be overstepping. Two things need to happen: term limits and a new code of ethics.
Jump in here, John.
Before he collapsed before our eyes in that Senate hearing when he was getting Anita Hill. Before that happened, I was actually a Clarence Thomas fan because he was a projector of natural law and certain things that I enjoyed, that I did a lot of research on and understanding strict constitutionalism. And he had a very good outlook on it from a legal standpoint. I thought he was going to be good. That whole thing that that happened, that just ruined it. And yes, he moved. He did the biggest move politically, right? Which changed his whole legal standings. He did a 180-degree turn from the man who I used to admire to the person he is now. But with that being said, I don't got no beef with him. Because everybody else getting their trips. Get your trip, man. Bring them down. Listen, bring them down if you're going to bring them down, but bring down everybody else. Because money and politics don't mix. And we've been mixing them too hard for too long. I don't got no beef with him getting his money. Get your trips, get your money, let your wife do the stuff she doing, whatever. More power to you. Till they catch you, you ain't a crook.
Hey, I think I understand what you're saying. I don't agree with you, but I understand what you're saying, because if they do it, if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. Because we know that Clarence Thomas ain't the only one, but I think there's fairness to the statement that I'm making. Perhaps you agree, you don't, but there's fairness to the statement that perhaps we're hypersensitive to it because he is the black conservative justice, and we already got smoke with him. The likelihood that there are others that look different from him,
Alito has been pointed out
from doing the same thing. So there you go. Ain't no hashtag Marcus J. Live from NewDen Legacy and everything. Like I said, quick hits. So we're going to hit a couple of these real quick. These are topics that I think we're going to probably try to do a segment like this going forward. These will be the topics that we really, really, really will be clear that, damn, I wish we had more time on, but it's kind of the end of the show, and we really should talk about this. And if we save it for next week, we going to forget. So we go behind as well. Quick hit it now.
The one hit quitters.
The one hit quitters, right?
pretty much.
Yeah. I almost like said something too personal. Like, if you do this, you know what we mean. But I ain't gonna say that. I just do the hand gesture to the folks in the room. That's why I stepped laughing, y'all.
Oh, we could call that too. Puff, puff, pass.
Yeah, right. How about that? Yeah. Yeah.
Now we're into the segment. The segment that's puff, puff, pass.
I like that. I
Okay,
like
I
this.
like it.
All right, the Grand Rapids download man who murders his wife after she finds out he's secretly gay. Come on, y'all. Marcus Derry. I'm not gonna say his last name. Marcus Lofton. There's too much going on with that middle name. Marcus Lofton was arraigned last Friday on the 18th on charges of murder and felony with a firearm. He's in jail with no bond. He is believed to have shot his wife, Alicia. She got easy middle name, Danielle Lofton, after she filed to divorce him. Now, let's see. According to her friends and the T, and it's the article that I'm reading is from Media Takeout, so it ain't gonna be a news article. It is gonna be full of T, and I'm trying to pull out the T part and just get to the heart of it. Basically, her people found out that he was having a secret gay relationship with a man. He was allegedly exposed on a Facebook page entitled "Whose Man Is This?" which Media Takeout confirmed is a page dedicated to outing download men. On the Who's Man's, because we say that in a different context, y'all. Who's Man's is this? I'm sorry. Whose man is this? A man who looks strikingly similar. Damn, I can't talk. To Marcus, same name as me. I challenge you to find me on one of the websites. You'll be looking till your eyes bleed. Strikingly similar to Marcus was secretly recorded having an intimate encounter with a gay man. The gay man video later posted the video on Facebook, and Alicia found out about it and filed divorce. Marcus is posting back in June, quote, "I'm a narcissist. # good morning." So he kind of wilding. 2 days after Alicia filed for divorce, Grand Rapids police say in their report that on the 17th they responded to report of shots fired. They arrived, they found her laying in a pool of blood, and she was pronounced dead by the paramedics. Detectives interviewed him. He allegedly told them that his wife, whom he had just married in February, had served him divorce papers August 16th. She told him that she was selling the house. Marcus had recently been charged with beating Alicia, and she had a restraining order against him, but he came to her home and started an argument which led to the alleged shooting. Marcus Lofton told police the couple argued. He grabbed her pistol, a Glock, from a drawer and tried to strike her with it. Quote, Marcus stated he shot Alicia numerous times before he fled in his maroon SUV, end quote.
She was trying to get through the window to escape him. He shot her while she was going. He shot her while she was climbing through the window to escape him. So, wow. And listen, there was a really simple resolution to this. Let the divorce happen and go do what you do. I mean, it's just that simple. You married this woman in February. You already knew who you were. The difference is you thought you could hide it. And this is one of the problems with people who feel closeted, uncomfortable coming out, and so on and so forth. What he was doing didn't have anything to do with that woman other than she had now had the opportunity to decide, I don't want to be your wife. And you killed her. And also, when people tell you who they are, listen, and all the time I've been using social media, you could go on any page of mine, you could Control F the word narcissist, and if it comes up, I am will not be in front of it. This guy, I'm a narcissist.
In June.
2
months before the murder.
Which
Alleged.
also could be a result of we're arguing. She calls him that and he's like, oh yeah, I'm a narcissist. Well, clearly you are, dude. You took an entire life to cover up the things you were doing. What he was doing wasn't a crime. You're unfaithful. Doesn't matter who you're unfaithful with, you're unfaithful. You're uncomfortable that people are going to know you're being unfaithful with a man. And this was the only way out? Why? I'm sorry, I'm not being funny, but kill yourself. Why are you killing me? I'm not your problem. You're your problem. It's crazy to me. And also the age of these people. I mean, she had children. She has children that are a lot older. And you live all this time and decide to get married. I've seen people do it, wait till their 40s, late 30s, and so on. And this is the result you get. Sometimes you're better off alone.
Uh,
Y'all can't do two things at once. No, y'all can't.
Okay. No, I'm sorry.
We gonna have dead air because y'all can't do two things at once.
Problem of a penis person. I'm saying.
Yes.
Y'all good. Y'all wonderful women. Y'all wonderful women. Go ahead and do that. Y'all are so incredible at it. I like to.
Gotta multitask.
Focus. I like to focus. So, that's some crazy shit, right? With this,
that's all you got, man. Yeah.
I mean,
and then. No, I'm with you. Go ahead.
Now listen. Here we go. Right? He was beating her ass, right? And she got a restraining order, but she didn't figure to get away. She didn't figure to because I'm not
victim blaming.
No, I'm not victim blaming, but I'm like saying, yo, dude is violent. And he lied about being gay, you've been with him a long time, and you got a restraining order, and he coming to the house, and you know that, like, I don't know, like, and this dude, like you said, you don't know these people. Don't you know that? Don't you believe them when they? This cannot. I don't know for sure, but I don't think she did. There wasn't some signs, some telltale signs.
Doesn't matter.
But
No, it doesn't. No,
people
listen, it's
walk
wrong.
People walk through restraining orders all the time.
We
Yeah, we
seen it.
gotta do
All
something
the
about
time.
that.
And it won't change because just recently, the majority of men in a particular party decided that there were going to be certain laws removed that gave protections to women with restraining orders and everything. This happens all of the time. You get a restraining order and the cops will tell you can't do anything until he
Until he
does
shows up.
something to you.
Yeah, until he does something.
Yeah, something got to change with that. I'm gonna get right back on that 1 second. There was something in there about her selling the house and all that. Was that any? Was it all about him being outed, or was some of it about the way the divorce was going through, or something?
She divorced him because
served him
she
with
found
papers.
she
Right.
served him with papers because she found out through social media
that
he was gay.
But I'm saying him attacking her and murdering her. Did it have anything to do with the divorce, or was it
It had
all
everything.
about
It had everything to do with divorce. He was mad about the divorce.
Mhm.
He was mad about the sale of the house, and how he responded to all of that was to kill her
Yeah,
after altercation.
yeah,
Yeah, and it's
Crazy.
yeah.
We crazy.
There's
So-
no way that I say anything about her. That's all on you, dude.
No. I don't mean to, as an individual, you know, call her into question. I'm just saying the way people move. But that thing about, like you said, with the restraining order, we can't do anything until, no, listen, if it's documented, if it's real that this person put their hands on me, we shouldn't have to go through any of that. It shouldn't have to wait till something else happens. Nah, this person doesn't need to be near me. And if the person is whatever it is, 500 feet or whatever, instant jail for a certain amount of time. No question that. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200.
Yep.
You know,
I agree with
and
that.
if that's not what's happening, you know, come on, man. My parents, I was in an abusive home. My pops beat my mom's, right? And the police would come to the house and be like, "Yo, go walk it off. Go walk it off." Come on, we got to be past that. It's 50 years later.
But we're not, though. That's the problem. We're not. We're not past go walk it off because there's too many instances where there are those with restraining orders who wind up dead. And the thought behind it is frustration from those of us who saw or see how this could be dealt with while she's on the phone with law enforcement saying, he's right there. I could see him. He's right there. And they said, well, has he come in the house? Well, no, but he's outside and I could see him. Well, let us know if he comes in. Like,
yeah, too late,
in the
too
time
little, too
frame
late.
that it takes for him to come in, he's done something to me,
Right.
and I can't do nothing now because I'm harmed or I'm not here no more.
I want to be real careful because I want to champion this thing particularly with women, but I do believe it needs to be across the board because I'm sure, although the vast majority of it is men on women kind of thing, I'm sure there's other people with restraining orders, men and men, women and women, so on and so forth, that get ignored the same way. This is not a realistic thing about people who are suffering through abuse that can turn into murder. We know what these people are capable of. They are capable of acts of violence, and that can turn to murder. We got to stop turning a blind eye to it.
Yeah, no, I could dig it. Ain't no ask that Marcus J live from NewDen Legacy Internet Radio as we approach the top of our third hour. Getting ready to do one more topic, and then we're going to shift into our final stages of the show. The last thing we're gonna get to, Steph, we're gonna go to Arkansas. You want to go to Arkansas? You want to go to Arkansas? Let's go to Arkansas.
No, we don't want to go to Arkansas.
We're gonna go to Arkansas.
Arkansas.
We're gonna go to. I remember being in school. I remember saying Arkansas, and the teacher let us. She was like, "Whatever, man. Whatever,
long as you know the
whatever.
letters and you can spell
Yeah. Whatever. Little Rock, whatever." So, we're gonna start in February,
Shout
and
out
then we're
Jermaine
gonna come to
Taylor.
March, right? In February, an Arkansas meat processor plant busted for child labor violations amid a national push to ease child labor rules. That's the headline coming out of the Arkansas Times. This article is dated February 19, 2023. Now, I'm going to read some of it, and then I'm going to come to the other one, which the two of them together leads us to why we're even bringing this up. Two meat packing plants in Arkansas are caught up in high-profile nationwide sting to suss out child labor violations. On Friday, the U.S. Department of Labor announced they discovered 102 children ages 13 to 17 working overnight shifts in plants in Arkansas and across the country. Those young workers were tasked with cleaning up caustic chemicals and sanitizing saws and other processing equipment. 4 of those children were working at George's Inc. in Batesville, and 6 of them were working at a Tyson facility in Green Forest. Packers Sanitation Services Inc., a contractor that cleans these facilities, is on the hook for $1.5 million in penalties from the Labor Department's announcement. Child labor violations, is a quote. Child labor violations in this case were systemic, and reach across 8 states and clearly indicate a corporate-wide failure by Packer Sanitation Services at all levels, explained Principal Deputy Administrator of the Wage and Hour Division, Jessica Lumen. Quote, these children should never have been employed in the meatpacking plants, and this can only happen when employers do not take responsibility to prevent child labor violations from occurring in the first place. That's February 19th, 2023. Fast forward to March 10th, 2023. Now, Steph, I need you to clarify something for me. John, I need you to clarify something for me. March comes after February, right?
Sure does.
Last time I checked.
March comes after February.
Last time
so
I
February
checked.
19th, if we said March 10th, that would be later.
Yes.
Okay, cool. March 10th, 2023. I'm reading this from NPR. Arkansas, my bad. Arkansas Governor Sanders, the one that has the eye like Uncle Fester from the Addams Family. She look like Uncle Fester. What did she do? Her daddy used to be the governor. I probably shouldn't have clowned it, but this is what I do. Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who looks like Uncle Fester, signed a law this week. It doesn't say Uncle Fester in the article, y'all. That's me. Signed a law this week rolling back requirements that the state verify the ages of workers under 16 and provide them with work certificates permitting them to work. Effectively, the new law signed by Republican, because they always get it wrong, governor applies to those who are 14 and 15-year-old because in most cases, Arkansas businesses can't employ those under 14. So those 13-year-olds in the previous article, they was already riding dirty.
Yeah.
Under the Youth Hiring Act of 2023, children under 16 don't have to get the Division of Labor's permission to be employed. The state also no longer has to verify the age of those under 16 before they take the job. The law doesn't change the hours or kinds of jobs kids can work. Quote, the governor believes protecting kids is most important, but this permit was an arbitrary burden on parents to get permission from the government for their child to get a job. Sanders Communication Director Alexa Henning said in a statement to NPR, all child labor laws that actually protect children still apply, and we expect businesses to comply as they are required to do so now. Workers under 16 in Arkansas have had to get those permits for decades. Supporters of the new law say it gets rid of a tedious requirement, streamlines the hiring process, and allows parents, rather than government, to make decisions about their children. But opponents say the work certificates protected vulnerable youth from exploitation. Quote, It was wild to listen to adults argue in favor of eliminating a one-page form that helps the Department of Labor ensure young workers aren't being exploited. The group Arkansas Advocates for Children and Families wrote about the law in a legislative session recap. This will be the last topic we do before we shift towards the end. John, you up first. The first article I read, because we've already established that February comes before March. So when we saw in this article talking about these kids, working in 102 kids working overnight shifts in Arkansas and across the country. About 3 weeks later, the governor makes it just okay. We good with that. So, John, you got the con. You up first.
First question: was it white kids?
Well, I don't know that matters. I don't have access to whether it does, but for context, I don't know that it matters, and I don't have access to the answer to that. But in Arkansas, I'm guessing probably.
You sure? Could have been some Asians, and yeah.
There were a lot of immigrant kids. There were a lot of immigrant kids at the Packer location, which is why people started talking about protection for immigrants.
There you go. So there's your answer, John.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember.
What was that? Is that it?
Yeah,
you did. Yeah. Okay, what you got, bro?
I just love this country sometimes. I remember. Oh man,
that's because his tongue was firmly in his cheek. Yeah, go ahead, John.
I remember getting my working papers at 14. Little green card photo. Man, we used to talk and have these conversations as kids like we were adults. Yo, man, you got your working papers?
Yes.
Better go get your working papers, man. Get you a job, man. Get you a job. We was kids, but we were talking like we were grown-ass people about these working papers because we could get jobs at McDonald's, cleaning up the park with the Parks Department.
Parks Department was big.
I know people who got their working papers, went to work for the Parks Department, and retired from the Parks Department, made plenty money, right, at the Parks in New York City. So, yeah, kids need their working papers, man. What's wrong with y'all in Arkansas, man?
Well, now they're saying you don't need them,
I know,
and your parents
but,
don't have
but you
to
know what that hold on, let's spin that back. We can backspin. You know what that is? That's another one of them trips that Clarence Thomas be taking. You see what I'm saying? So the meatpacking people done gave the governor a lot of money.
Oh, absolutely.
Through somebody else. So he's like, listen, we about to catch this lawsuit and listen. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna change this law right here. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna sneaky retro it. Right? Since I passed it in March, we're gonna take it back and make it first of the year. So when you got caught, don't worry, you ain't know about it. But the law, you protecting under the law. So I'll give me another little good donation from y'all. I mean, it's the American way, right? That's how politics works. So now they can get anybody 14 and they don't got to verify their age, no working papers, but not under 14, right? We can't do the 13. But what does it matter? Because if you 12, we ain't checking it out.
Your parents, we're not checking your papers because they don't exist anymore, and your parents didn't have to sign.
So this is like the thing back at the turn of the century. They used to have this thing called the children train, right? Where people who had kids who were orphans would get on these trains and they would send them out to farms and send them different places where people would like sort of adopt them, but they really weren't adopted. They would work. That was the thing. They would work for their keep, and they work sun up to sundown. This country is amazing. We can't help but go backwards.
And to your point earlier, I was back when this packet sanitation thing happened, I started going through. There's several websites you can go to that will tell you what political donations have come from a company and to where, and they're quite vested in their donations. But you can say that about anyone. You can say it about Tyson. You can say it about Apple. Anybody. However, they made a lot of contributions in their state to Republicans. So good point. I see this as a firm attempt to keep poor people poor, working class people working class. It's a distraction for, think about where they're working. They're working in a factory with in an overnight situation. Now, and I'll get to the hypocrisy once we just track this, right? So now we have children working in overnight factory environments using scouring products and things that most people would not be able to handle. You usually got to get like different certifications if you're in the warehouse, and OSHA this and that. So they're working in these places overnight. Some of the worst jobs in a plant are done overnight because it is a lot of the cleaning and everything to get ready for a certain shift and to do certain production levels and so on and so forth. So immediately you're putting children in an overnight situation, which is likely that a lot of these children are coming from impoverished environments. Middle class kids are not going and looking for a job in a factory at 13. They want to work at Abercrombie. They want to work in the mall. So you cannot dismiss the likelihood that these are children who come from lower socioeconomic environments. So you bring them in, you're disrupting what they should be doing, which is getting education, because now you might be lucky if you'd be very lucky if all of them continue going to school, but a huge part of them are not. I've seen documentaries with migrant children that these same people don't want in the country, but they'll use them as cleaning staff in an overnight factory environment. But I've seen things where these children have said, I don't go to school in the morning so my sister can go, and I work overnight. This is a perpetuation. We got to have the haves and the have-nots, and it is going to be employed more likely in a place like Arkansas, although now there are going to be some white folks, they're so poor that this kid was going to come work on the farm anyway. They don't care. But do not think this won't catch black folk up. I know somebody right now that grew up in Arkansas that is black.
They hiring?
And so
they hiring?
No, I'm just saying,
so
there are going to be, and so now we have this governor saying that, yes, we care about children. And it's ridiculous that parents need to give them permission to go and work in a factory overnight when they're supposed to go to school the next morning.
With dangerous chemicals.
This is the same governor who said a child needs a parent's permission to have a pap smear or to go to Planned Parenthood, or for a 14-year-old who is pregnant to go and get an abortion. Parents are being forced into those situations because she knows the parents who would be okay with that are going to likely lean her way politically anyway. These people are hypocrites at the highest level. You care about babies until they're born. You care about children until it's a 14-year-old girl that's pregnant by a rapist, because anybody who got a 14-year-old pregnant is a rapist. There is no state where 14 is the legal age of consent. And yet, and I just want people to think about this. They're selling you the same message for two arguments. Parents need to be involved. Parents don't need to be involved. Parents should be making the decisions about what books their children are reading in school. So now we clear out the entire library, even though there are some parents that are perfectly fine with their kids checking out whatever they want to and assume if it's in the library, it's intended for them. And some children might have a higher reading level and may read on the 8th grade level, even in 4th grade. I was one of those kids. So I would go and check out books that now they would say it's beyond your reading level. Well, back then, the whole point was to reward a kid who was beyond their reading level because it helped with comprehension.
Donald Goins in the 3rd grade, y'all.
So it is really this whole situation. Yeah, it's terrible that they're making children, they're willing to get in the way of a parent having a right to say, my child shouldn't be working in a factory. That's what you need to think about. Now, if the recruiters start coming after your 13 and 14-year-old, your 14-year-old can look at you and say, you can't tell me nothing. I already signed and I can go to work. But on the same token, these 14-year-olds are not bright enough to know that they don't want to have a baby. They are using the same arguments to promote two sides, whatever side works for them. And we're just all letting them get away with it. Same thing that they got rid of AP. She got rid of AP Black American History because she said it makes it hateful. Same governor. But AP European History, which includes the history of the Jews and Hitler, gets to remain. We have to, this goes to your point earlier about Democrats not speaking up in very plain ways. One of the things I've said to certain politicians that I've worked with is it must always be as plain as possible. When you are working in politics, you have to immediately divest of and I'm somebody who has an expansive vocabulary. You get rid of the expansive vocabulary and you go to the easy to understand messaging. People don't understand what's going on. Politicians are not bringing it to them in very direct terms. Even these laws were put out there. And if you don't read it, and if you don't have good reading comprehension, which, by the way, 60% of people in a certain community are known as illiterate, so that's a problem. But you can't go and read these things for yourself. And then the politicians who are representing you are not being honest and clear.
Nah, not at all. And I'll be honest with you. I'm one of those people. I need it real simple. You know, I'm an intelligent guy. I can analyze all that kind of stuff, but I'm not going to. I need you to make it plain for me. I'm a trained journalist who spent 4 years in college learning that news is given to you on a 5th grade level, period. So by the time I graduated from college, I had done the fifth grade 10 years earlier. I got 10 years past 5th grade level. So I get it. But I also know that most of the electorate either doesn't get it or they're not going to take the time to get it.
That second part.
You know what I'm saying? But there are certain
They don't got
things.
the time.
There are certain things that you have time. When your kids are involved, you need to make time. And when you want to take my 13-year-old and make it okay for him or her to work in a factory with chemicals overnight,
without my permission,
I don't got to know about it. But if I teach him that white folks was real fucked up to us through history
and made 8-year-old black children work
and pronounced, up through the 60s. That's when it was legislated that they can't fuck with us the same no more. That's when they legislated it, but we know the truth about how it's been in the last 50 years since. You mean to tell me that those two things don't go together? I can't say the N-word and Tom Sawyer and Huck Finn no more, because I want to shift the history of how white folks was viewed here in our country. You know what I'm saying? I want to change history. I want to change how history is disseminated. You know, and it's crazy to me because I'm the guy that won't say the word, but I'm also the guy that doesn't want you to take it out of the book. Show it, man. Show it how it really was. I want to know what you think about how history portrayed people that look like you versus how history portrayed people that look like me. I want to ask politicians that. Why? Because race matters. Race matters. We can act like it don't. We can say we're all the same. We're all red on the inside. We can talk all that bullshit all we want. But I'm not that dude. I'm never going to subscribe to that because I know the truth. I know that if you had seen George Floyd with his knee on Derek Chauvin's neck, that would have went a whole different way. And I know that you know that. I know that you won't admit it, but I know that you know it. Why? Because I'm savvy. I know. So why do we have to continue to mire ourselves in this? This is why I always say, create your life in a way so that certain things don't affect you. But you have to make sure that you empower your people. Period. Because these folks ain't going to do it. They will change history and the narrative right in front of you and tell you they didn't do it. They'll tell you they didn't do it. Texas is where most of the history books come from. It took a black woman in Texas to say, hold up, you can't take that out. Don't take that out. That happened. You know what I'm saying? So kind of jumping off of the child labor law thing and jumping more onto the part about the history books and stuff, but that's the part that resonates with me. Because if you change the narrative, 100 years from now, some white dude's going to be playing Malcolm X in a movie. You know I'm right. You know I'm right. They got white folks playing Jesus in movies.
Cleopatra.
Playing Cleopatra in movies. Like, come on.
Moses.
We know.
Othello.
And they told you. Shakespeare told you, man. He told you. He told you. If we can do that, and not argue and complain and fuss about it, imagine what could happen. Now, when the Bible was wildly disseminated, and when Cleopatra came out, and when look, scrap what I was about to say, because we didn't have the power. I was going to say we didn't have the power to change the narrative. We had the power to change the narrative when Russell Crowe played what was to do with the boat with all of the animals, two of each. Noah.
What's to do with the
Y'all know what I'm talking about. You know my heart stuff. Come on, man. Russell Crowe, though, the white dude, the Australia accent. You mean to tell me, Giancarlo Esposito wasn't available?
Right.
You wanted somebody mulatto. You couldn't get John Green.
But
you couldn't get John Green.
I'd have did it at half the price. Half the price.
I tried to take a shot. He
right
went right. Yeah, I tried to take a shot. He went right with it. My brother. Ain't no half stepping. With Marcus J. Live from NewDen Legacy and their radio. This is where we move on from our main part of the show into our rant and our closing, our final vestiges. And this is the part that I don't like. I don't like this part. I usually will kind of use this time of the show to profile missing and or exploited children. Tonight, I'm going to do something a little bit different. We will still do missing and or exploited people, but we will look at a couple of cold missing person cases out of right here in Richmond, Virginia. So tonight, we will start with Shamice Chambliss. She's been missing since February 1st, 2011. She's currently 26 years old. She's been missing since February 1st, 2011 from here in Richmond, Virginia. She's 5'5", weighs 120 pounds. She's a black female with red streaks in her hair when she was last seen, medium hair length, brown eyes. Last known location is unknown, and the circumstances of her disappearance are also unknown. But we do know that she's been missing for over 12 and a half years, since February 1st, 2011. We will never forget our missing. Shamice Chambliss, as I look at you in this photograph, we will never forget you. If you want to share in viewing Shamice Chambliss's photo and the information surrounding the circumstances of her disappearance, make sure that you check out our social media pages, John, Steph, and mine, the Legacy and the radio page, Ain't No Half Steppin' with Marcus J page. We're also looking for Ariana Ivane Davis. She's missing from Henrico, also part of us here in the capital city, since April 30th, 2010. She's 34 years old today. She is 5'5", weighs 200 pounds, with shoulder length black hair and brown eyes. Last seen walking down Coke Road, K-O-C-H, Coke Street, I'm sorry, K-O-C-H Street, within close proximity of her residence after leaving a store. The circumstances surrounding her disappearances are unknown. Last but not least, today, as we often do, we're looking for Keisha Jacobs. Missing since September 26, 2016. September 26, 2016. Today, she's 28 years old. She's 5'3", 100 pounds. She's been missing since September 26, 2016. Last seen leaving her apartment building on foot in the Midlothian area off Eric Road. She told a family member she would see them the next day. She did not return her residence to the Westover neighborhood. Her cell phone has not been used, nor has her bank account. And as we have said many times, we know a little bit more about her story than what's represented here in this flyer. She was last seen on East Broad Street in the Churchill part of Richmond, Virginia, near Chimborazo Park. If we've seen Keisha Jacobs, Ariana Ivane Davis, or Shamice Chambliss, please contact the Richmond City Police Department at 804-646-5125. Contact your local authorities or the Missing Children Network on their phone number, 1-800-THE-LOST, 843-5678, or you can hit them on their website, missingkids.org. Grown people, they'll take your information if you have information on them. Ain't no how Steppin, Marcus J. Live from NewDen Legacy and Radio. All right. I hate that part of the show, Lord. Lord knows I hate that part of the show. But moving on to a more fun part as we do our moment in Black history. We've taken to doing individual people as opposed to the list of events. Perhaps we will go back to that one day. This the energy we on now. This is the book of cards that we're speaking from. So for those folks who can see in the camera, you can see great African Americans. These are what they call knowledge cards. Library of Congress is where the information is culled. And last week we started this. I like this, and hopefully you do too. We'll take a minute to talk about a person in Black history. That person today is Phyllis Wheatley. Thank you to John for randomly pulling the card from the deck. We're going to talk about Phyllis Wheatley, who was born in 1753 and transitioned to be with the elders in 1784. After being kidnapped from West Africa as a child and taken to Boston on a slave ship, Phyllis Wheatley landed in relatively fortunate circumstances, servitude in a Boston family that treated her well and encouraged her education, in which she was able to cultivate her natural gifts for verse and language. By the time she published her first poems in 1767, Wheatley had also mastered Greek and Latin to the amazement of local scholars, many of whom had genuinely believed such feats to be beyond the capacity of Africans. Many of Wheatley's subsequent poetic works, written in the English neoclassical style, were published in poems on various subjects, religious and moral, in 1773. Wheatley's literary reputation and personal magnetism gained her admiration in both the United States and England, and after her death, she became a potent symbol of Black intellectual accomplishment in the ideological battle against slavery. Today, ain't no half stepping with Marcus J., our brother John, and our sister Steph. We pay homage to the sister and ancestor Phyllis Wheatley, who walked our planet from 1753 until 1784. We salute. One piece that I would like to add my own commentary to before I hand the con over to John, as he will lead off our rants and closings, where it said Phyllis Wheatley landed in relatively fortunate circumstances, quote, servitude. There is nothing fortunate about servitude, and there is nothing fortunate about your circumstances after you've been kidnapped from your homeland and taken somewhere else into servitude. Let's be clear. Ain't no hashtag Marcus J. Live from NewDen Legacy and Radio. John, my brother, I am so glad to sit across this table and see you. Every time I get to do that, it's a good day for your little bruh. Thank you. I appreciate you. You have the con. You can tell them people's anything you wants to tell them. It's your rant, bro.
First,
What you got?
I want to say thank you to the both of you guys. This is something in my life that I enjoy, and it gives me a lot of joy. And you guys make it possible. You educate me. You force me to be aware of myself and acknowledge my shortcomings and different things, and be mindful of my speech. And I really appreciate it. So before I do my closing, I'll do my card. Is that a good idea?
That's a great idea.
Okay.
I tell you what, how about we each read our card right at the beginning of our rant? Let's do that.
Okay.
All right. So our card, to be clear, is our affirmation cards that we started doing a few weeks ago. John, thank you for reminding us. What you got, bro?
Today I will breathe. Today, as I face challenges, I will call a mental timeout. I will consciously breathe with my eyes closed and focus on slowing my inhalation and my exhalation. Okay. Now, today is an important day, and people don't want to talk about it. August 21st. August 21st is extraordinarily important. It's an anniversary, double anniversary. It's the anniversary of Toussaint Louverture and the rebellion against slavery in Haiti. Right? I wrote it down. 1791, August 21st. But it's also another wonderful anniversary. Nat Turner's rebellion, August 21st in 1831. So we got to remember these things when we talk about some of the stuff that we deal with here. We were heavily political today's show. We talked a lot of different politics and stuff. And I think we do need another party, but I don't think it's the independent party. And people are going to say I'm crazy, right? And I might be, and it may not be in my lifetime. But I think the party we need to call it the hip hop party. And the reason I think we need to call it the hip hop party, because I believe that people who are a part of that community have enough diversity and enough similarity in thought and ideology that we could actually possibly do something relevant. I mean, think about the people. There's a significant amount of people in different ethnic communities who are hip hop heads, right? Who are our age now. The older people in the older community are hip hop heads, and all of the young people who came up behind them, the millennials, the Gen X, the Gen Z, the Gen whatever the next gen is, all of them are now hip hop heads, right? And through that kind of similar understanding and cultural identity, I think we could actually make a dent in something. And like Marcus said, make it plain. Hip hop can make it plain for you. Hip hop can make it real easy for you to understand what's going on in a political atmosphere. And if you can touch the people in a way that they can understand and empathize, I think we'll go a long way. Other than that, I don't see much changing in the political atmosphere that we have. I would love to be so wrong about how I started out the conversation on this show with regard to Donald Trump. I would love to be so wrong. But again, I just don't see anybody with that energy. He has an incredible energy, not bigging him up at all, because I can't stand the man. But he has an incredible energy of force that motivates the people that follow him in a way that I haven't seen people motivated since Barack Obama. And I don't know if people, I mean, Biden has done a couple of things, but the problem with Biden is I think he did the opposite of what you're supposed to do. He overpromised and underdelivered. Right? I think he missed more points than he hit, although he did make some good hits. He did. I mean, it's there. I think his son in that whole situation became a talking issue that didn't work well. And I don't think that Biden has a good appearance. Like, I don't think people are receiving him well the way he looks. You know, he's, like I said, he's done some good things, but I don't know. It's a popularity contest. He doesn't seem as likable to his base as Trump seems to his base. So that, you know, that's my issue. It's not his ability. We know he's a masterful politician. He's been down since the 70s. You know, again, like I say, he's the same guy who will go to a Klansman's house and, you know, kiss the daughter and hug the wife and have dinner with them like it's no problem, and then go over to South Carolina, have a rally. So where's Scooter? Where's Scooter? Scooter, remember when we? Come on, man. I just can't. I can't. There's nothing. I voted for the guy because he was running against somebody who I couldn't do, but there was nothing else possible to do but to vote for him. But there was no way he could earn my vote without having to run against Trump. I don't like him, not even a little bit. And I really think that if we are going to see change, if my grandson is going to be an adult with a family one day and voting for things that'll make a difference in his life, right? With it meaning something, I think we're going to have to reconstruct our political process. We got to get the money out of politics, first and foremost. We got to get the identity out of criminal justice, because people are being punished as they identify as opposed to the crime that they did. How do you identify? Oh, you identify as black, you're guilty. Oh, you identify as white, you may be innocent. Oh, you identify as transgender, you're insane. Like, no, what was the crime committed and what does the law prescribe for the crime, and was the crime proven beyond a reasonable doubt? These are the questions that need to be asked, not who's the person, where they from, what they do for a living, or what they look like, or what religion they are, and all this kind of nonsense, because the law is supposed to be blind. So we got a tough hill to climb if we're gonna leave the world a better place for the people who are to follow us. And I'm trying, and I hope everybody else is up for the task. That's my closing.
And you know, I have Step Marcus J live from NewDen Legacy in that radio, John. I was feeling that, man. You did good. You did real good tonight. I appreciate you. Your performance tonight was top notch. So, brother, I rocks with you.
Thank you, my brother.
And you know, I have Steph Marcus J live from NewDen Legacy in that radio. Steph, it's time for you to take the con and take us home with your rant and closing. I'll, of course, precede you closing us out by thanking you for your grace and your intellect and your topics, and just being an outstanding partner to me and to John. And I'm thankful. I'm happy for the gift that is you. So thank you for just your presence. And it's time for you to take us home with your own rant and your closing and whatever may be on your heart. This is where you share it. What you got, my sister?
Well, thank you both. I don't know if I felt as gracious as I typically do, but I'm also good at not being a grudge holder, so that kind of helps me out a little bit. But thank you for letting me work through it during the show. Before I start my rant, which I'm gonna reflect back on Phyllis Wheatley, I just want to mention that one of my favorite actors died this week, and I cried about it because I really like this actor.
Yeah.
Ron Cephas Jones.
Ron Cephas
And
Jones.
He's looked like an older dude as long as he could look like an older dude, but he's always looked like such a well put together, handsome, debonair older dude that I didn't think of him as old by any means. He was born in 57.
This Is Us.
Paid in Full.
This Is Us.
He Got Game back in the day. That's how long I've liked this guy.
I knew him as Randall's father on This Is Us.
That's my favorite recent. Tall, brown skin brother, curly hair.
I'll pull the picture for you.
Yeah, he also was in a recent Apple TV with that everyone I would recommend.
He was also on the new Law and Order with Elliot Stabler, and his return.
He was a bad.
He played a crooked. Was he a crooked politician?
He was.
Yeah.
It was behind the drug ring.
Yeah. I got you, John.
But also recently, he was playing on Apple TV. Truth be told, he played Olivia from The Help, Octavia Spencer's father. He went by the name Shreve. And if you haven't watched this, it's called Truth Be Told. If you have Apple TV, highly recommend it. Every scene as a matter of fact, Tammy from reality TV Housewives, she's in it and plays his girlfriend. Tammy Roman plays his girlfriend, his younger wife, who's the age of his daughters, and he plays a bar owner who's a former revolutionary. But you know, that was a giant. I saw him on Broadway a few years back, maybe like 8-9 years back, and it was really sad to see. It's always sad to see when other Black people who have been doing so much and been doing it so well for so long disappear. And you just hope that their legacy is kept. But yes, as Randall's dad, masterful, absolutely masterful, and that was a tough loss. You are Randall. Randall.
I used to get him confused with the guy who played the barbecue guy on the show with what was the show? The guy on Netflix, the the politician who was killing people. Kevin Spacey.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
What's the name of that?
House of Cards.
House of Cards. So remember the guy who was the barbecue guy?
I do.
I used to get the two of them confused.
But yes,
I used to get them confused.
Two big dudes. Yeah. House of Cards was dope. Okay, so I just wanted to acknowledge that. Now, interesting fact about Phyllis Wheatley. When I was younger, I was obsessed with early feminism and early womanism, Black women. And Phyllis Wheatley, after she was freed, she married a poor grocer. His name was John, and John Peters. So she died as Phyllis Wheatley Peters. But he was an impoverished, free Black grocer. And I remember being a little kid because in the article that described him, they said he was improvident. And he was imprisoned where for his debts a few years before she died. Actually the same year, 1784. And I looked up the word improvident. I remember being a kid and looking up the word improvident. And it was spendthrifty, thoughtless in how he used his money, which left Phyllis Wheatley at the end of her life with a sickly child to provide for. But her improvident, free husband was in jail for his debts. They said back then what would have been thought of as gambling. He was into that and all of that other stuff. She became a scullery maid at a boarding house, work she had never done, because even though she was in servitude, she wasn't considered that kind of servant. So she didn't do hard labor. And she died at 31 years old, impoverished, and her infant son died right after. This was a woman who really honestly could have moved independently. She didn't need a husband. She was set free. And that was the space that her life ended up in. And most people didn't know about Phyllis Wheatley for years. Her writings went basically hidden and they were found much later. And so, I wanted to bring that up because I'm getting ready. My rant is about impatience. And so before I get into that, I'm going to read my card, which is fitting. Today, I will express myself. Today, I will express my feelings openly and honestly by writing them down and reading them aloud. So I did actually earlier today write a little bit of my rant, which I never do. And I was thinking about how bothersome being patient is. And I want to encourage you all to be impatient. Be impatient. Patience is a virtue. Patience is a virtue. Black people have been given religion as a means of control. And I'm not saying that I'm not a spiritual person. But it was the original platform for control coupled with the whip. And one of the main things in there was patient. Keep praying. keep praying to God and he may free you. Keep being diligent to your master and you may experience freedom. But it requires patience. And I can remember growing up and being told a few times that I was impatient. You never know. So and so may change. Be patient. And I realized as I got older that impatience is often a privilege of the wealthy. They are allowed to be impatient. By the time I really realized this, I'd sat in a room enough with corporate benefactors, CEOs, entrepreneurs that had done great things, community builders. And I noticed that consistently, particularly if these people were white men, one of the things they highlighted consistently was that they were impatient. They were unwilling to wait. Waiting was getting in the way of the goal. And I used to always think about it about how, yet, I was always being told to be patient. And I started thinking today, and I was writing down whether impatience benefits me. And I think not only does it benefit me, it will benefit you to understand that the people you are saying you want to model yourself after so that you can have generational wealth, because we know that's the black buzzword. We buy it all. Empowerment, generational wealth, get rid of the generational curse. We're the only people that sit in these things and sit in them. And I'm impatient with it. I'm impatient with it because while patience may be a virtue, impatience can be as well. It's important to know that sometimes being impatient is, I was reading an article and it was really good. It mentioned how sometimes being impatient will tell you that something is not meeting your standard. So you're waiting and you're waiting on someone to change. You're waiting on someone to grow. There's eating up space in your life, or you're at a job and you're waiting on them to change, and it's just you're eating up time in the space where you're not growing and you feel impatient. It's important to step back and ask yourself what that impatience, what is it coding? What is it telling you? It could be you are waiting too long. You are being exceedingly patient. Maybe you are uncomfortable waiting on change and you need to go and make changes yourself. Impatience is coded information. And in some moments, you might realize that impatience is telling you to be more protective of your time. But you've been raised in an environment where you were beaten down to be patient, usually because the people who wanted you to be patient couldn't really provide you with what you needed. And they wanted you to wait until you were old enough to figure it out yourself because they didn't have the skill set. It may be telling you that it's time certain below your standard. And every single time I've sat in a room with someone who would be considered a scion of business, I've been to major conferences. I've sat in the room and listened to other coaches who make millions of dollars in their space. And many of their stories are about question I gave you. And we miss out on the opportunity to tell them, question. Sometimes you question out of impatience because you're not getting the answer that you think you deserve or the one that is the truth. So that's my encouragement today, is to allow impatience to be a motivator. Dig deeper on what impatience may be telling you about what you can tolerate or withstand, and understand that the people who are telling you to wait are running. They want you to wait. They need you on their hamster wheel. You are their production. And meanwhile, they were impatient enough to put you to work for their mission. So if you have something that you're doing right now, if you have a goal, if you have a desire, whether your desire is that you want to be happily married and partnered with someone who takes care of you in the ways that you see as taking care of you, if it's that you want to be self-employed or working somewhere where you're more appreciated, it's okay to be impatient enough to make that change. And that's my rant.
Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J live from NewDen Legacy Internet Radio. I first want to thank everybody who has been rocking with us tonight. Special thank you to my partners in life and in crime, John and Steph. We're not crime ridden people. That's the figure of speech, but I appreciate them both. I'll lead with my own affirmation that we have all pulled cards for. Today, my affirmation says, today I will see the miracles and love surrounding me. Today I will see the miracles and love surrounding me. That's a big one, man. And I'm so glad to be able to read that and be able to be in the spirit where I actually believe that. So here's my rant. On August 20th, 2011, I typed my very, very, very first post announcing my entry into social media, into internet radio, and all of the things. I'm very happy about that. That was 12 years ago yesterday. I've been talking all this month about how we've been in radio for 12 months. Yesterday was the official. It's been 12 months, 12 years since my very first post introducing us into social media. So that's a cool thing to me, and I'm very, very proud of that. And so I wanted to kind of lead with that. Next thing I want to give some time to is Keke Palmer. I gotta talk about Keke Palmer, y'all. Here's the thing. Here's the thing with Keke Palmer, right? I haven't said a whole lot about this in my social media lately, just because I don't care that much about pop culture like I used to. But you know, it's all over my feed. The story amuses me, so here we go. Right? I've been a fan of Keke Palmer since she was a child, and this young lady is not even 30 years old yet. And when she saw her childhood idol, she spazzed. It's that simple. And we all been there, at least most of us, like myself. When I met Dick Gregory, I spazzed. I told him about our show. I told him about Legacy and their radio and all the cool stuff we done. And I only had maybe 2 or 3 minutes with Dick Gregory, but I spazzed in my own way. And Keke Palmer's dude didn't like her clothes, and she didn't like how she spazzed. And this dude chose not to address her privately, but to address her publicly, opening the floodgates for all of this drama that he started. And now you got folks that's coming for her for how she responded. Like, really, what the fuck she supposed to do? Like, be quiet and take it? I would say negative to that. Like, he owns her because she got his kid, or he owns her because they together in a couple, or she can't be herself because of who he is, or she just disrespected him because she wasn't chaste. You can miss me with all of that, because I know for a fact that brothers have done far worse to our sisters than anything that Keke Palmer has done. So I will say openly, loudly, and clearly, for those who may not understand what I'm saying, I am Team Keke. I'm even more Team Kiki ever since I seen that video for the boyfriend song. And what I seen in this video was a super fan emulating her idol. Did she have some fun with some subliminals? Of course she had some fun with some subliminals. He started it. She ain't started, he did. And I look at Usher and I look at Kiki and I look at Usher and I look at Kiki and I look at Usher and I'm like, yo, this dude almost 50 years old, just like me. And even if she was feeling him in the way that a lot of folks is trying to make it out to be, how insecure of a man are you that you so in your feelings that you go public with something like this, further alienating yourself and your partner? Personally, that's just not my thing. And here you have this beautiful, talented, accomplished, young, unmarried woman who can spaz any way she chooses to. And I think we should all be aware of this, right? Make sure that the person that you coming for is less for the shits than you are. Because if you come across somebody that's for the shits just like you just might get what he got. Here you got this woman out here living her best life, and you got a lot of people living their best life. Just don't start none. And then there won't be none. And I'm someone who lives by the creed of same energy. I am an even-tempered dude. I'm an ambivert, y'all. I'm a Gemini. I am a surly yogi who can play whatever game y'all want to play. And clearly, Kiki feels the same. Being a mother does not mean you change who you are. Being a mother means you embrace it even more. And if I haven't made it abundantly clear before, I will do so again. I am Team Kiki. That's my Murr. Marcus's unrelated rant. Ain't got nothing to do with here. We in here talking about tonight. It's the end of the show. I want to remind everybody that independence is the key to building your legacy. Also want to say peace to all of the stars and all of the squares and the abundance of water, the fool is thirsty. Those are words of Bob Marley, who you hear singing in the background. Ain't No Half Steppin' with Marcus J, live from NewDen of Legacy in that radio. Wants to remind you to be blessed. I want to remind you to give grace. Remember, keep it 100, okay? Authenticity has no competition. We celebrating 12 years. We couldn't do it without y'all. We appreciate y'all. Next week, we have a very, very special guest. We'll announce that in social media as we go through this week. So for John, for Steph, for yours truly, for the listeners, for the guests, for everybody that rocked and rolled with us tonight, Ain't No Half Step on Marcus J, live from NewDen of Legacy Internet Radio, y'all. Peace.
Oh, yeah. I'm with this, I'm just gonna lay back and I'm gonna drop some smooth lyrics. So tune in 7 to 9:30 and don't be late. We about to set it straight. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. Word. I'm ready. Let's go. Ain't no half stepping. That's the name of the show. Yeah. Marcus J hosting and we ready to go. Yeah. Hunters talk sprinkle with a dash of humor to the legacy listeners and the online viewers. What you want to talk about? Call it. We're hearing you. Cover all topics. Touch on the main issues. With you flowing this show, bring the heat. Yeah. The word on the street was the Earl on the beat. We superb in the beat. Legacy online. Okay. 7 to 9:30. Please be on time. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J, my brother. Yeah. If they can't hang, word to their mother. And he been on this grind for a while. The brother so smart, plus brother got style. Up in Richmond, we on the mission. Before force, and listen up. This Marcus J start to talk, run it back. And he been on this grind for a while. The brother so smart, plus brother got style. Up in Richmond, we on the mission. Before force, and listen up. This Marcus J start to talk. Ain't no half stepping, that's the name of the show. Yeah, Marcus J hosting and we ready to go. Yeah, Hunters talk sprinkled with a dash of humor to the legacy listeners and the online viewers. What you wanna talk about, call it, we're hearing you. Cover all topics, touch on the main issues. With the flow in this show, bring the heat. The word on the street, Wizard Earl on the beat. We superb in the D, legacy online. 7 to 9:30, please be on time. Ain't no half stepper with Marcus J, my brother. If they can't hang, word to their mother. And he been on this grind for a while. The brother so smart, plus brother got style. Weapon Richmond, we on the mission, we full force. And listen up, this Marcus J start to talk.